Ladies and gentlemen, to your action stations, I'm Admiral Y11. Welcome back. The video you're about to watch is the second of two interviews that I conducted with the developers of the Open Perpetuum Project. Perpetuum is a game that's $5 on Steam. It's kind of like EVE Online, but more with mechs and also a flat rate instead of a subscription fee. So if that all sounds good for you, it's $5 on Steam. Give it a buy. The person I am interviewing in this video is a gentleman by the name of Null. He is one of the programmers and considered one of the general managers of the Open Perpetuum Project. So, I hope you'll enjoy. Cooperate with me. Focus. Come on. There we go. Jesus. Not even 10 seconds out of the gate and something's going wrong with my tech. As if I hadn't had enough issues with the frickin' iPad-sized monitor. Anyways. Oh, shit. Open Perpetuum has hosted us. Huh, wow, what a coincidence.
Oh, shit.
Whoa. I didn't expect that. Thank you so much. Speaking of which, though, tonight we're doing another interview. Last week we interviewed Inda, who was the game design developer part of the Open Perpetuum project, and tonight we have Null, to which my understanding, you, Null, are the essential project manager of OPP.
Incidentally, yes.
All right. Okay. So now that we have that established, y'all know from Perpetuum who are coming in right now. Y'all know who Null is. He's always in the server. He's always watching. He watches you when you sleep, when you're awake. He knows if you're hacking. Don't hack. It's a community-run game. Don't hack. I have a Tennessee lemonade. Let's do this. Oh, something happened. Private message from Skull. Ah, yes. Agent, invite to own corporation. Okay. Let me get this squared away before we start it. I apologize. I just want to get Skull into the corporation.
Corporation business.
Yes.
Very important.
Very, very important. It's technically Adeptus Mechanicus. Because that's what I made my corporation. Adeptus Mechanicus business, that is. I need one of the stupid quotes from Metal Gear Rising. Metal Gear Rising memes speech. That's the one. That's still the one from Monsoon. Where's the one from Senator Armstrong? Senator Armstrong, the memes. No. Alright, I'm gonna have to show this image just so people get what I'm laughing at, so I don't look like a lunatic. I apologize for getting sidetracked here. But, fuck, I missed it. I hit open instead of show and folder. Oh no, this is going terribly already. Here it is. There's your meme. And with that, I'm just gonna slam on the keyboard. You know what? There we go. Good. Good enough. Good enough for the message. Right. Okay. So, with that professional business out of the way, let's actually get to the questions, the interviews, the game of 20 questions. So, Null, are you ready for the 20 questions? And the $1 million question at the very end.
Sure. There's, money involved? What is this?
Yes, but it's all in Venezuelan currency.
Okay, excellent. I was planning on going there soon.
Excellent. Okay. Admiral, you are making me die of laughter. Excellent. If an interview makes you laugh, and at the same time can be serious, that's the perfect Eric Andre formula, and it shows I'm on the right track. First question. So, being that you are the project manager of OPP, was it your original idea to bring everybody who, was around at the time who wanted to, together into a team to continue Perpetuum's operation? Or was it just like a collective thing that happened and you just happened to be chosen as OPP's manager?
No, actually, this is a really good question because it's often the perception just because I'm the only guy around, or like in the server or whatever, or on the top of the list in Discord. So it was actually started by Vile, who was the CEO of a corp called Pretty Hate Machine, or PHM.
All right.
And he has a very long history in Perpetuum, much longer than I did. And he originally started the project. Basically, this is going to be a little bit of a long story. Do you want long or short?
Just go as long as you want, man. Like the more
All
the
right,
better.
all right, let's do it. So, skipping over the 8 some odd years that Perpetuum ran, the last year it was found out that the Avatar Creations was gonna close and liquidate and all this stuff. They later then announced that, we're going to open source the server and release that stuff, and the official will eventually shut down, but at an undetermined date. At basically the point of when it was revealed that the server was going to be open sourced and basically handed over, not the actual data, but the source code to operate your own server. Vile was the one basically beating the bushes, looking for developers, interested players, from like the early beta days to whoever's still around on the official server, which at that time was very few people.
From what I understand, it was around like 50 people when it finally went down. Around that number.
I mean, concurrent was like under 10.
Ooh.
So over the course of the day, maybe 50 unique people logged in, but I'm not sure. It was very barren, and I was playing the game during that time, and I remember how empty it was. Let's just say you could walk on the Gamma and like build your own Gamma, and there was no issue. Whereas before, it was nearly impossible with any resistance.
You'll be glad to. I'd like to interrupt here. I just searched up the Steam charts. You'll be glad to know that Perpetuum has had an average so far of at least 23. It's at an all-time peak of 277. But at the current moment, actually no, the average is, well, the average for the last 30 days has been 7.8, but it's jumped up in probably the last few days.
We're at 23 concurrent right now, Steam?
Playing an hour ago, yes. And I can vouch for that. I did join this morning.
Well, that is, that's actually pretty good in terms of Steam numbers. It doesn't count running multiple accounts, so it's all unique Steam users, I believe. And people, and if anyone's listening out there still running one of the old clients that isn't updated, because non-Steam clients don't get updates, stop doing that. First of all, you don't get counted in the Steam numbers, and you're not going to be able to see the new zones. You're going to have a bad day.
I didn't even realize you could run the old client. Also, Semperfast has asked, is that 3D model mine in the background? Yes, it is. That's a very old model. I can't load it up anymore because it uses a program that is shit. I have to remake it in Blender at some point. But I'm glad somebody likes it, because I had one friend who was nagging me incessantly because this is a warship with a lot of guns. And he could not suspend his disbelief enough to have a warship hold this many guns.
Needs more guns.
Exactly. Needs more guns. And the best part is they're all supposed to be railguns. Though they don't really look like that. Anyways, can you continue on? I apologize.
Oh, no. No worries. Where was I? So Vile was, being the bushes and gathering the people. And I was just one of those people. And my primary interest, and even to this day, is development. So I'm primarily for committing just source code to the repo. It kind of, what are you pointing at? What is this?
I'm just pointing at the more railguns thing. I'm agreeing with
True
Skull here, but I don't want to interrupt you, so I'm gesturing. Continue.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. I shouldn't get distracted by it.
I kind of distracted you myself, so that's on me.
But so anyway, basically, we started, and they started calling me project manager. I'm not sure I like that title. I'm just a developer.
Fair enough. Fair enough. It's a pretty big title for it would like something when you don't consider yourself too big in the development process. It is true though. I do see you on on all channels at all times. So I guess I can understand why it kind of got applied to you.
Well, keeping a client open and entering public chat channels isn't like management.
Yeah, it's true, but I mean still. You seen One Punch Man? Just a developer for fun? Yes, Null is just a hero for fun.
Yeah, this is what I spend my free time on and stuff, and so and that's the other thing about open source projects, and the reason why I was really excited about this was that, it's a chance to work on something that you otherwise wouldn't have a chance to, namely like an MMO with real players. Like the code base is like, I don't know, 200,000 lines or something, and like there's no way you're going to build this yourself from scratch. And it was nice to work at least from a case study, as kind of dated as it may be. And there are some problematic parts, but they even refactored it before they open sourced it, which has its upsides and downsides. There were bugs on it that were not present on the official server, but you probably have questions about that stuff later.
Incidentally, I do, and you you kind of answered my second question, which was, did you have any experience managing anything like an MMO or just any video game development prior to OPP?
So no, pretty much I was sort of a generalist software engineer, and I started getting more interested in sort of back-end web stuff. And I've always had an interest in MMOs, being an MMO player, playing Eve in Perpetuum. And also kind of understanding those are kind of their own niche. So like, there's interesting sort of emergent game design principles there that other games don't have. Right, it's less focused around a PvE experience. There's a lot of kind of like a dynamic player-driven economy and incentives through risk reward and all this other stuff. And I like through any extent, even my current experience, consider myself a game designer. Like I participate in those things out of sheer necessity to try to balance out those discussions. But we do have a lot of very passionate game balancers, content designers, and testers. And when I say those things, it's often the same people wearing a lot of those hats. Sort of in the startup mantra. Sorry?
This hat here, or are you talking about like hats in general?
Hats in terms of like which teams they're a part of and things that they do on the team.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But maybe we should get literal hats. That might be a motivating factor for them. If they got hats.
Yeah, no. If they get hats, you got to make sure they're better than governors. Because last night, governor was talking shit. he was kicking up the hornet's nest last night, and he private messaged me telling me to shush. I said shush about what? He wouldn't tell me what to shush about. And then he said he said my hat was cool, but he had a better hat, and I'm personally attacked. So you better upstage his ass.
Yeah, so you and Orbs have looks like you guys are gonna have some PvP feuds coming up. But yeah, he's a funny dude. Yeah, I think that was pretty much his Friday evening, so you can imagine.
Yeah, no, I was up until like 2 a.m. on Thursday, and I was trying to read through the chat, and it was just him and like 3 other people just going at it saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna fuck your shit up, boy. Oh yeah, well come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. Orbs is a pro shit talker.
True.
I see. Alright. Hopefully I don't get into any PvP yet, because I only have an Argano. Or Argano? Where did Argano come from? I have a
oh
Arbalest,
god,
the Arbalest.
Yeah, so I think you mentioned this in the other stream, and I thought it was hilarious. Like, no one knows how to pronounce anything in the game.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true. Everyone pronounces Perpetuum?
I've just been saying
Perpetuum?
I've been saying Perpetuum because perpetual.
Yes, maybe, I'm not sure.
But
Like, I literally don't know.
Here's the thing. I'm pretty sure Perpetuum is also a French word. Because I'm pretty sure I tried searching it up once to look up, I think, Perpetuum Mobile, which I have no bloody idea what it is. I think it's just some, like, one of those, like, mobile puzzle games with physics. I think they just called it Perpetuum because it sounded cool. You should sue them!
Well, I don't have any IP of Perpetuum.
That's fair.
It's that's an Avatar Creations question.
They should sue them.
Yeah, get on that, guys. Come on.
Yes. And give him the client while you're at it. Come on, guys. Also, why do you have a pointed prow? It's literally useless in space. Shut up. I like my space boats. That is exactly the same thing I was also criticized for with this model in the background. I like my space boats. Leave my space boats alone. Anyways. It can land too. It's not supposed to. I'm getting sidetracked. Alright. Did you ever think you'd ever be in charge of something like OPP beforehand? Just anything involved in that? It might be a bit redundant with the second one.
No. I did not see myself in any sort of leadership role, nor do I want to.
Fair enough.
Whoops.
Oh, well, shit happens.
Yeah.
We're here now. Alright. And okay, so here's the question you were talking about the bugs. Were there any hills you needed to get over when you first started OOP? And did any of them stunt any of the progress leading up to what OPP is at its current state right now?
Yeah, so, client aside, we basically treat that as a black box. It is what it is. It sends whatever requests and expects responses in a certain structure, and we just can't do anything about that. The server that was open sourced, our understanding is, and we have evidence at least to attest to this, is that it was a complete refactor from what they ran on official. From discussions, their server developer indicated that, obviously when they started, 10 years ago or whatever it was.
Give or take.
Yeah, so the server is C#, which is a language that compiles in the .NET framework. And at the time, I think it was like .NET 2. Loyal, one of our other pretty heavy hitter developers, is like a .NET like genius. He's been programming it for over a decade, so he could even tell when they implemented things like built it themselves versus using standard library stuff, because the .NET library did not have that stuff available at the time. And when you build things yourself, if you don't account for edge cases, or there's some weird bug or some weird idiosyncrasy, whatever it might be, you're in charge of maintaining that and updating that and dealing with the consequences, versus like if you just use a standard library function, you can just update your target and get all the benefits of an updated library. So they built a lot of things from scratch out of necessity. And we kind of hear through the grapevine, it was kind of like their first really big development project. I think you even checked out their blog about it.
Yeah, no, the last post they have on their website is basically the guy saying, okay, so Perpetuum's shutting down, here's what happens with its development. It was basically a shit show, and it released in 2010, released on Steam in 2014. It didn't go as well as we had hoped, and it became not worth the effort, was the gist I got from it.
Yeah, the Steam launch was 2014. It launched 2011? I forget.
2010.
Yeah, 2010. So, yeah, it's they were ambitious, and they were doing things at a time when there wasn't a good open source ecosystem for things like game engines, and let alone like sort of heavy concurrency backends like MMOs.
Yeah, well, I think a direct quote from the thing was, there wasn't a guide to building MMOs back in 2004.
Yeah, and it's it's the typical startup problem, right? It's like they were also trying to make a business case, but having experienced this firsthand, like you could be a brilliant engineer and write amazing code, But
But if you
like,
can't market it, it's worth jack
yeah,
shit.
well, or if the product even fits the market, right? I think
Definitely.
there's a fair argument to be made that like the market niche is like the Eve PvP sandbox,
Yeah,
and being
that's
first to the game matters a lot with this stuff.
yeah, that's what Endo was saying back during his interview, because I had asked him a specific question, which I think I actually have a similar question here along the lines of the same structure. That was basically, what do you think Eve has over Perpetuum besides the time? And his answer was, it went back to time, because at the end of the day, Eve came out in 2004 when Perpetuum started its development, and Perpetuum released in 2010, 6 years after Eve did. Eve had a 6-year head start. So,
Yeah, for sure. And they also built their own clients, and I think they even have their own they have like a stackless Python. I forget if they're using that server side or what that's for exactly. But like they built a lot of their own technology to pull off what they did.
yeah.
And they started managing their own infrastructure at some point. I remember some dev blogs way back when. I don't know where and how they're hosted now, but it's totally fascinating stuff, and that's why I was totally chomping at the bit to like join a project like this and work on a code base like this, because like I'm not going to get a job at CCP. Like maybe do I want to, I'm not sure. Because like there's in software engineering, game development is kind of like the Hollywood for computer science, I guess you could call it. The employers have their sort of pick, and they could kind of push you around because you want to be there, and you want to be, publishing and making games, the things you played as a kid and stuff. So
Yeah.
they have really bad, contracts. They often don't get benefits or hired as like subcontractors. And they work these crazy hours, and then once the project's over, they'll just like shed staff.
Yeah, that's the
There's a
one
lot of
thing.
churn.
That's like the one thing that kept me from becoming a game designer, next to, the crippling debt crisis we've got here in the US. Beyond that, just back in the day, I always thought, oh yeah, being a game developer seems like the shit. I get to make my own games, and then getting into high school, I started realizing, wow, the game development industry is actually shit. Wow. I'm not going to pursue this anymore. And now I work at a liquor store. So,
Yeah, my calculus was, the same skill could be applied to games as it could to like, other industries. Pick your poison. Um, but nothing's stopping you, especially nowadays, from doing something like this on the side, which is which is why I really enjoy working on a project like this. Is that I'm able to improve my professional development skills, work
just
in a language that I typically wouldn't, get exposed to technology stacks that I typically wouldn't, problems that I wouldn't get exposed to in other environments. So so there's the sort of professional development standpoint.
definitely would look good on a resume, I'll say that much. Also, I don't mean to interrupt,
Oh,
but
sorry.
Dro5577 has joined the IFDF Navy. Welcome aboard. Skull was polite enough to welcome him into the fray for me. I didn't want to interrupt you, so I didn't say anything at the time, but thank you, Drone. I appreciate it. Cheers. Alright, sorry about that.
No worries. Welcome to the Navy, sir.
It's the,
Gotta do those shoutouts.
yeah, the struggle of the, the struggle of the Twitch streamer. Quote unquote.
No, I respect it.
And
By the way,
don't
I'll
respect it too
probably
much.
have something to talk to you about later too, regarding streams. So
Ooh.
yes. Yeah, so I think we're talking about like bugs and all that stuff. So the
Bugs.
rollout, yeah, it was rough. The server installer that they provided has a database backup that's kind of a snapshot at a weird point, so the state is not very easy to work with. So there were a lot of kind of basic parameter changes that had to be made, like basic balance that was totally redone from the ground up. And in terms of server code bugs, there were a number of bugs, things that like would straight up kill some of the zone threads because one of the requests was like not properly handled. It wouldn't dispose things correctly. it was pretty bad. So we were actually in a what we called a pre-alpha phase, while the official server was still running at the time, to try to play test these things on like kind of a live server, and try to sort out these kind of really nasty bugs. Like there was a giant memory leak. It's all this crazy stuff that you only see when you soak test a server like this. And so it took a while to work through, and the official server shut down sooner than was anticipated. So we were kind of in a rush to get things up, but we ended up launching live April 14th, I think.
Of last year, or
2018. So it'll be 3 years coming up here in April.
Nice.
For which there will be an event and a patch and all that stuff. So look forward to that.
Excellent. Well, it involves something that gives me a lot of industrial RP, because that is like the one RP I can never get any of.
Really? Indie RP?
Yeah, the thing is, dealing with industrial robots in Perpetuum is a pain in the ass, because all they do is they just remove your locks. So if you're fighting against more than one, it's just an infinite loop. And before you tell me to get the ECCMs, I had one installed. It didn't do shit.
It just reduces the probability.
Yes.
But the better thing is to get 2 sensor amps and improve your sensor connection skill, and basically you're maximizing your relock time. So they can only cycle their ECM so fast, but if you can relock in between that and kill them, then that's the winning strategy.
The other thing is those seekers. Hold on, I have the game open. I can just look at the name. The tiny transports that are labeled as being actually depressed. Where is it? Here it is.
The squeakers.
The squeakers? Is that the nickname for them? The squeakers?
People can call it squeakers. I love all the names that people come up with for like these bots and how to pronounce them. Like literally no one pronounces everything in the game the same way.
Yes. We have hold on, I gotta wait for the game to capture this joke mixer. We have NyQuil, we have Pedestal, we have what's the name of it? It's a book that's like in line with the... I can't remember the name of it. Oh no, I'm stupid. It's the name of that... What is it? It's like one of the books that you'd partner with like a, You know what, I'm just gonna call it Theocracy. Fuck it. I couldn't remember the name of the book. Thesaurus, I think it is? Shit.
The Sorsica?
I don't remember.
Like I'm trying to blend it in with the faction name.
Yeah, the Thelodica. Yeah, we have Theology, NyQuil, Pedestal. We got all that, and now we have the squeaker. Excellent. Thesaurus. Yeah, no. Okay, so I got it at the very end. It still doesn't change the fact that I am like bone-numbingly stupid. But, stupidity aside, we still have questions to get through. And that was a lot of stuff on bugs. I figured an undertaking like this would have, like, quite a lot of bugs, but I didn't figure, like, it would be that problematic, to be honest.
Yeah, and there are still bugs. Like, the reason why we didn't launch with Gamma was that we weren't totally confident that there was that part of the code base was bug free, and we were right. We recently fixed at least one thing that we caught.
Okay, how bad is it exactly? Because I know the Gamma update involves like building structures. How bad did it get? I can only imagine.
It's I mean, it's they added Gamma like kind of later in the life of the game, and you can kind of tell because it's a really complex system, right? It's like there's a directed acyclic graph of, well, not acyclic, but a directed graph of like how buildings pass energy and command to each other, and if one of them goes off the network, like what happens. There's all this like state management and like stuff that can happen, reinforcement cycles. And like what happens when a base dies, like where's that storage go? How's it, pull that stuff into loot cans? Like there's a lot of stuff there.
I actually think there's some screenshots of Gamma when it happened. Yeah, no, this is okay. This is even before the Steam release. This one screenshot here. Let me actually save this and show it off real quick. Copy page URL. Because I found what I think is part of the Gamma update. I can't be certain, but it certainly doesn't look like something that was built by players. Or something that doesn't look like it was, the standard structures that are in everything. Plus, my god, that's so much terraforming.
Yeah, so, and for context, there were two kind of iterations of Gamma. So, the first one, that one there, right, is basically you had unbounded terraforming. So the way the altitude is represented in the game is basically it's a 2.5D sort of environment. Every tile can have one Z position, which means you can't have things like tunnels and underpasses. But it does mean you could, technically have a sheer cliff. So if you basically kind of see how this might play out, what people ended up doing is that they would just terraform all of their walls. Oh my god, yeah. Did Vile make that? I think Vile made that one.
I'm gonna be honest. I love the character creation in Perpetuum.
Oh my god, the avatar creator, yeah.
I don't know if you were there when I first was making my character, but Skull was there, and it was the funniest shit because I was trying to make me, and it failed spectacularly, and I accidentally made Jacksepticeye.
It's kind of funny. It's like Eve kind of had a similar evolution with their avatar creator, and like Perpetuum's was just stuck on the first iteration.
Yeah, it does show, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean it's like it's
almost
like it would. I don't know. Would it be better without it? Like, is there something to having like a humanoid-looking avatar?
I'm gonna be honest. It's not the fact that it's not like a humanoid-looking avatar. It's the fact that it's kind of limited in its options, especially for hair. Because I couldn't get, my hair.
Yeah.
There wasn't really an option for that. That or my beard. I couldn't get my beard. And I always like. That's the one thing that I think a lot of games need is more beard selection and more hair selection, because there's so many different kinds out there. And if you just limit it to I think there's 15 max for hairstyles in Perpetuum. If you limit it, it does end up, it can limit the creativity of the actual character. But on the bright side, I mean, we do have golden moments where I go, why does that look familiar? And then half a second later go, it's Jacksepticeye!
Now that's a hot take. There should be more beard selections in games. Let's see that article on Polygon.
Yes, absolutely. Except they're too busy. They're too busy saying games need to be $70. You fucking hacks at Polygon. Yes, that's right. Here on this show, we roast Polygon. We'll roast Kotaku too.
Oh, that was the other one. I couldn't think of the name.
Yeah. Kotaku, Polygon, let's go after IGN as well. Fuck IGN.
Terrible game. 4 out of 5 stars.
Yes. New Call of Duty, 5 out of 5. Excellent gameplay. Same thing as last year. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Not that I agree with it. I think Call of Duty needs to update their shit. But I digress. We got really off track. Alright. Okay, so over time, here's the next question, by the way. Over time, I've been told that the team, it's technically not your team, unless you consider it your team, but
no, it's the team.
It's the team, okay. So, I've been told that the team has grown from the original group you had for OEP. Injo told me that the general consensus of everybody was that everybody just wanted to work on Perpetuum. Has it ever come up as a topic of discussion to make your own game at any point from any of the members of the OPP team? And if so, what kind of game would you aim to make? Would you aim to make another MMO like Perpetuum, or a completely different MMO, or a completely different game altogether? Has that ever been suggested by anyone?
Yeah, we had conversations like this early on, and suggestions from the community and sort of stuff like that. Ideas like, oh, could we make a spiritual successor? Could we at least work in our own client? There's reasons why that won't work. Um, and so we batted around those ideas and stuff, and tried to see what was worth doing, what were people on board for, that sort of thing. We ultimately decided to kind of stick to making the best out of what we had here with this instance of Perpetuum, the existing client, and it's whatever state it's in. It's kind of we don't really know like the future of the client, like what it's going to be. Is it going to remain strictly the IP of Avatar Creations, or are they going to try to do something with it, or at least kind of open something up about it? We have no idea. We were kind of led to believe it might be open source early on, at least was the case. So we were kind of like strung along a little bit to try to figure out what was going to be the future. And then what we could do on our own. Like the first year or so, we kind of didn't know what was going to happen. So we did at least explore the possibility of working on our own client. And for all the reasons that have to do with, custom game engine and custom server protocol and all these other things, and the decade even that has transpired since they built it, and what open source free game engines provide now, at least for client development, and even some server interfacing modules and things like that. There is you are inheriting and consuming a lot of technical debt to maintain what they have and to kind of rig in and basically
You good?
you're just grabbing all these avatars. I'm just seeing them pop up on the screen. To basically make it work with the old client and a new client that we would make with the existing server. Basically what we decided was like, if we really wanted to do this right, we would write everything from scratch, because it's not worth porting everything to be compatible with the old server.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, that is in fact what I look like.
Yes, this is
accurate picture.
Actually, Null in real life. You see, Null is actually a part of Perpetuum. He's currently talking to me through the game. That's why I have the game open. You see, if the game's not open, Null can't talk to me. Null can't talk to anyone. He's a part of the game now. So yeah. Moving on to the next question. What was the tragic accident that caused you to be trapped in the Perpetuum? No, I kid.
That's a good question. I mean, it was a combination of like Eve burnout and like, I don't know. It was just my game. It was like, I like robotics.
Militia
I like
suggests
PvPs.
Ghosts in the Shell.
Yeah. And I don't know. It was the right mix of elements in the game. I really like that it was an indie developer. Like, I like that, it seemed like this scrappy group of guys, like, straight out of college that built this thing from scratch. And I'm like, fuck yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to play it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it certainly seems it seems less chaotic and certainly less griefer-filled than Eve, because I stopped playing Eve probably about, like, 2 or 3 years ago. There was a point where I was actually subscribed to them. That's one of the benefits of Perpetuum, by the way. It's $5 flat rate, don't pay anything else. Anything else is voluntary, and I voluntarily pledged to the OPP Perpetuum. Or OPP Perpetuum? OPP Perpetuum Patreon. Yes, that's redundant, I don't care.
OPP, PP.
PP. That's a lot of P's.
Yeah, and we appreciate your support, by the way. It really helps us out.
Hey man, I am all for supporting games that have their community supporting the game themselves. Like I told Enda, I've had too many games that I've liked on Steam that shut down, and nobody steps up and tries to keep them alive, or at least finds a way to get fucking Game Ranger to work with them, for God's sake. Like the two main ones I always use are oh, I forgot the name of it. I know Fractured Space. What was the other one? It's not called Hexen. It was Hawken. There it is, Hawken. That was a fun game. But I digress.
Oh, but on the one thing you said about kind of it, contrasting with Eve, and also kind of what brought me to it and why I saw a lot of advantages to it was that it actually offered zones where you could actually be safe from PvP, where on Eve you don't have that. You just have crime punishment and various gradients of security.
Yeah, no,
Which is
that's one of the major things about Eve. I don't know when I'm assuming you started playing around the time Perpetuum released. I was going on about how I stopped playing 2 to 3 years ago. When I stopped playing, there was a group called Code wandering around.
I know them.
Okay, so you were there after the Imperium fell. Because
yeah, I forget exactly when, but I remember the first Hulkageddon, which I think was the precursor to what basically Code built on top of, was the profitability of being able to salvage T2 mining barges. Like, you could basically sacrifice a character and like keep ganking with a catalyst or whatever it is, and make a profit. So there was a financial incentive for the player to basically engage in griefing. And you could obviously debate that. It's a very interesting emergent thing, but obviously it's not an enjoyable thing on the part of like the industrialist that's trying to mine and play that part of the game. So Perpetuum was nice in that like that system wasn't, you couldn't do that.
Yeah. Also,
like you could go on the beta and be exposed, but you're making a choice about going on the beta and being exposed to that activity.
Yeah, you could stay on the alpha and still mine. That's what I did basically all of, I think it was Wednesday. I just went on and I mined like at least 1 million units of titanium. Because titanium, you burn through fast. Also, Lunar Wave has informed me that Code is still around on Eve. Disgusting! They were just griefers who went after people in high sex, like new players. And the worst part was, they were pulling an Ajit Pai about it. Oh, we're in the right, because it's the right thing to do, and new players should thank us for ganking them, because we killed them, and that stops burnout, even though it really didn't, and all it really did was just piss people off. I mean, if they wanted to give a player-based entity of an enemy, they certainly succeeded, but they were just griefers who went after low-level players. That was really it. Ganking was even more fun when insured battleships paid for the fit plus cost and any loot is extra. I wouldn't know. I think my last character, or the character before my last character, I got up to the slasher. Was it the slasher? It was it was the gun-focused Minmatar cruiser. The one was focused around cannons. I don't remember the name of it, but it was that one. And then I stopped playing. Stabber, that was it. And I was working towards the Munin with my newest character, and then got bored because the skill roster was like a month long. And I also bought the wrong mining barge. I digress. We're getting off track. This isn't about me. This is about Perpetuum. This is about you, Null. I apologize.
It's about Perpetuum.
Yes, Perpetuum.
It's a conduit to the people about Perpetuum.
Yes. We have the perfect weapon against griefers. Beast Mode and Jailish and Co. Fair enough. I assume Legacy to some extent as well. I feel like y'all would go after griefers. Actually, I feel like the whole community would go after griefers.
There's actually interesting cultural differences too among the player bases, and even with the strong Eve history among Perpetuum players. So how corp theft is basically a viable enterprise in Eve. It's like embraced even.
I actually don't. I knew very little about corporations in Eve. I know very little about corporations in Perpetuum, but that's a question for later.
Yeah, we'll get to that. That's but yeah, in Eve, a big thing was you basically, make an alt or whatever, get permission, social engineer your way to the top, and grab everything and run. And like that was actually very common. and it would be high sec indie corps, it would be big PvP null sec corps. No one was, and there was some famous case about like some CEO got pissed off and basically looted everything and ran. Even like imagine stealing from your own corporation that you founded, whatever. So in Perpetuum, there was like at least when I joined after the Steam launch, I started playing I think 2015, 2014, and it happened at some point, or there was some discussion about it, but they basically talked about how corp thieves got blackballed. Like they were ostracized in Perpetuum, whereas in Eve they were embraced, and I thought that was an interesting contrast. I don't know what it says, but it was just like a different vibe that you get from that game.
It's probably because people were pissed about it happening in Eve. Like they work all that, they work hard to support, a corporation, so that everybody can profit, and then one douchebag is just like, I don't vibe with this corp anymore, and just steals everything. I can imagine how that would piss off a fair few people. Especially in Perpetuum, because it does seem like it takes quite a while to get this stuff. I mean, to get to destroyers in EVE Online, it was just, you could get to destroyers within like a few hours. And here in Perpetuum, if I wanted to get to, say, an arbalest, the ability to build arbalests, I have to get 13,500 NyQuil RP, and then the same for common RP, and that's going to take me a while.
Well, you're trying to solo manufacture it,
That's
but if you want to purchase it, it should be just as easy as a destroyer in Eve.
True, but I mean, you also have to get the skills and such, and that can take hours. I actually don't remember what it took up to get to destroyers, but I do know that getting to destroyers by yourself was significantly easier than getting to an arbalest here. Not to say that I'm not up for the challenge. I am working towards getting an arbalest and eventually a cane, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
You'll get there sooner than you think. The EP activity system and the multiplier will pretty much put you into a heavy mech in like under a month if you play it even just moderately.
Fair enough. Speaking of, are there any skills that increase research point acquisition?
No, kernels are always 1-to-1.
Okay.
And also be careful, like if you're investing, this is just a general thing, most people tend to do their research and industry on one character, or rather a separate account. It's just a choice. If you want to do a like jack of all and do everything on one character, that's cool too. But the reason why is that once you invest RP onto a character, and once you spend that RP, it's not reversible. Like it's invested and it's stuck on that character. So your personal research tree isn't transferable in any way after that point.
I figured as much. Well, I knew as much. Honestly, I never really liked the idea of alts in EVE. I feel like alts are kind of abused in EVE a little bit. Like, people have, like, entire mining corporations just set up to just do the mining for them. And I get that to an extent. Like, mining is not the most exciting thing in the universe of EVE. But just buying, like, a whole bunch of accounts to do it for you, it at the same time seems kind of lazy. At least to me, that is. So, I tend to not use alts in any game, really. The only time I'll use alts is if it's like in a single-player game, and I, like, in Tank Mechanics Simulator's case, for example, if I wanted to play my own thing, I'd have an alternate save, and I just load that up and play that on my own time, play the one I play on stream, etc., etc. But normally in multiplayers, especially MMOs, I just don't do it. That's just my personal opinion. I just don't like it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different things that are designed around creating an engaging experience for a solo player, but industry tends to be one of those things that it's so slow or latent, or is rather the secondary activity that the player is just doing that to access other things or to make money. So like I kind of understand that too, as like, hey, I need to do this thing, or I just want to build things myself, but like I don't get joy from it. So I still want to have a a combat specialized character, so I could go do PvP on the side.
Fair enough, fair enough. Alright. We actually managed to answer... Why did I make... I basically just repeated the same question. This is why you don't write interview questions late at night. And possibly drinking Smirnoff. I don't know if this was one of them, but like the night before I had like finished off a thing of Smirnoff because I figured I need to finish this off anyway. But I digress. My drinking problem is none of your concern at this moment.
I mean, you wouldn't be a proper admiral without it, right?
Exactly. How can you manage an entire fleet if you're not pissed drunk? But I digress. Alright. So this next question, it kind of pertains to me in a way. When I first booted up Perpetuum, I was actually surprised because I didn't realize Perpetuum still had a category on Twitch. There's a lot of games on Steam that they might have a category, but they won't even have like category art, or they just won't have a category at all. One of which being From the Depths, which is weird because From the Depths used to have category art, and now it doesn't. But
Actually, sorry, quick funny story about that. The Twitch category for Perpetuum did not have category art, and for I forget the first year or so of OPP, like I was in like a round of emails with Twitch trying to get them to upload art.
and it finally went through.
Yeah, I had to get AC involved. Basically, they had to get something from. So I poked Zoom. He's kind of the main sort of graphics user-facing developer from Avatar, and he was able to kind of forward things along and get it updated.
That was nice
but
of him.
yeah, it was. It didn't have it for the longest time. And people were streaming and they were saying like, hey, can you get this updated? Can you get this updated? So I tried it, and it was like, I think over some series of months trying to get that updated.
Shit, I should do that with Nick on the From the Depths team. Because, I mean, for quite a while, I've actually been like one of the few people who actually streams From the Depths. And I did declare Monopoly, and then that Monopoly was entirely broken. But that's okay. But yeah, no. So it is interesting that occasionally the original developers at Avatar will still come in and help out where they can. Or that question, the question actually was for that, was the game popular for streamers on YouTube back when it launched on Steam or any time before that? Not to imply that your story about the thing was not interesting, but it is.
So I don't think it was very popular for streaming. There's a lot of issues with streaming like a PvP sandbox MMO. Either you're doing something not super entertaining on alpha, or you're doing something that can get stream sniped on beta. And I feel like streaming in general at the time was just not as popular, not as integrated. People weren't doing it like when they would regularly play a game. And Perpetuum was too niche where it wasn't gonna like, necessarily expand your audience. But because there's plenty of other games that you could stream that might be more popular, and you could, get more views from people who are fans of that game. I think as maybe streaming has become more pervasive, the people seeking out more niche things has increased. Like I think the very fact that you and we over the years we had Glitchy Girl, we've had another streamer come through, I forget the name, and
there was that one Russian gentleman I did see.
Yes, the Garrux, and he popped up out of nowhere and started streaming, and like totally cool. Like it just snowballed rather recently that all of a sudden people started streaming Perpetuum again and regularly, which is surprising.
How long has it been, like, compared to like when I streamed that, like somebody streamed Perpetuum?
I think it was like this last summer or so. I believe the last person who probably streamed was like Icky Phoenix, who was another supporter of the project that wasn't hanging around during the summer summer months, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, when for the opening stages of the COOF.
Yes. Yeah, I think yeah, people had some free time on their hands, so some people got into streaming a little bit, and so we had at least one streamer during that time that would occasionally stream his exploits on Alpha.
I definitely did. Streaming for me definitely helped me during that whole time, I will say. Though I did not start streaming during it. That would be thanks to Jack Churchill VR, who doesn't stream this game. But if I do end up actually streaming with him again, I might try and drag him into Perpetuum as well. Not sure if he'd enjoy it, but he doesn't have a choice.
Excellent.
Everyone will play Perpetuum. You do not have a choice. All right. Yes, everybody in IFDF who is following me, you have to buy Perpetuum now. All 230 something of y'all. Because we had another follower, Toasty Avocado. And that's me reading it out. I'm not that drunk. I've only had 2 shots. Oh, speak of the devil. Hiyashi VR has also followed. That's another one. Welcome to the IFDF Navy, son. Welcome aboard. Thank you for the follow. Shit. I'm gonna be honest, this is probably the most popular game on my channel at the moment. I have 11 views. 11 viewers. And that's kind of crazy to me.
Dude, it's crazy enough that this many people play Perpetuum.
Yeah, no, and like half the player base is here right now.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think so. Hold on. Yeah, I think so.
That's like that. That's the funny thing. I'm not even joking. We need to pump those numbers up. Well, I'm just gonna move the. There we go. All right. What's the next one? Okay. So this is partially to do with avatar creations. So, Inda had led me to believe that you were still in talks with at some point with Avatar Creations about getting the client at some point. He did tell me that like he couldn't say much else, probably because for confidentiality reasons, and I completely understand that, and that's not what my question is about. My question is, has anyone from Avatar Creations at any point come into the OPP server or watched something like a stream here and have taken a look at what you've done at any point in time? And have any of them, like, at any point maybe giving you some technical advice on, like, oh, this is what this did, this is how you might be able to fix it? Have they done anything like that?
Well, I guess a couple examples there. So I actually used a clip from your channel, or no, well, I grabbed your video at the timestamp when you were trying to register, because we've been basically hamstrung with how to fix that. A long time ago, they integrated the ability to customize localization with an override dictionary. But those resources aren't loaded before you log in. So we can't update anything about the view and the problem of like register with username, but log in with email.
I've had a few games and a few websites that have done that, and it always pisses me off.
Yeah. So, and I think your reaction just captured it perfectly. And I think there's something about, and I'm saying this as a developer too, seeing a user experience something viscerally too really helps motivate the fix, I think. So I passed that clip on and be like, hey, that thing I mentioned, people are still struggling with this. And we've worked around all the possible ways that we can. We set up a registration website where you can register and get verified and immediately log in, right? You don't have to use a game client at all. But like you can't automatically discover that when you just open up the game client. We've tried to, we've wrote a blog post about how the different ways you do it, what the error means, and like what you're supposed to fill in. But you can't just like write documentation, do all these things. You kind of have to fix the actual experience that the user has. But we couldn't address it ourselves, so we passed that on to Avatar, and they say they would take a look at it and figure out a way to at least address the issue.
I also wasn't aware that was clipped. Twitch doesn't tell me when people clip my things.
Oh, I don't think I clipped it. It wouldn't let me clip. But I was able to grab the video at the timestamp when it was like you were going through that process.
Oh, I see. So that explains why I didn't find a clip. However, I do find a clip that's called Rotation, and it was clipped 13 days ago. What is this clip? Let me just...
I think someone redeemed your
yeah, that's what it is.
Technique there.
Yeah, no, somebody redeemed an ocelot spin there. I see. Okay. Now I understand. I'm glad I was able to help out in that capacity as well, beyond, you know, showing off the game and talking to you and Inda and the rest of them. On an unrelated note, I do have to ask, did Villy, well, this question kind of falls apart now that I'm thinking about it, but, like, I wasn't sure if he joined after or before OPP started, so I was, like, the question was, did he name himself Vil because when it says dev in front of his name, it spells devil? Does he know that happened? Is he aware of this?
He might be. I don't know. But no, that was his in-game name from the official server.
Okay. I was just that was just personal curiosity. I wasn't sure. Like, I had a sneaking suspicion that it was, but it wasn't now. So yes. Good answer. Very good question too. What am I doing here? All right.
Yes, good question. Yes.
Let's move on to the next question before, you know, I have a mental breakdown or something like that. Okay. All right. So, just give me a moment. I got way off track, and now I have to, like, get back on track and read my damn questions.
No worries. We could just freeball it, you know, just what do you want to know? I could just talk about the project in general if people are curious.
Fair enough. I do have the question here. It's just I'm not exactly sure how to word it to make it sound intelligent, because like I said, a lot of these questions were written like late at night and might like last night, like late at night it might have made sense to me. Like reading it out might have made sense to me, but like reading it now, I'm going, what the fuck was I on?
You just have to get on the same level that you were last night. That's the trick.
So I just have to get ultra... Okay, let me just slam back this Jack here. No, it's honey. I can't slam back Jack, honey. That stuff is way too sweet. Way too sweet. And I'm out of Minute Maid. And I don't think the nearby grocery store is open. Not that I'd go to the grocery store, because it's a 40-minute walk. That's a long time to go on break for lemonade. Alright. I'm just going to read the question out as it was. Okay, so I was told that current updates being worked on were actually updates from the past. So, of course, Gamma is one of them. I'm not sure if there were any after Gamma, but it was my understanding that you're basically going to be re-releasing content, which I actually like, because I like when games do that, especially when everything gets wiped. The specific example I used when Inda told me about this was GFL. Because what GFL did when it launched on the English servers, because it originates from it's a Chinese gacha game, for lack of a better term, really. When it released, they basically like redid all of their events and had them go in chronological order, thankfully. And so I really like that function. But beyond with these updates, there's eventually going to be a point where you run out of updates, like official updates from Perpetuum when it was still around. Do you have any concepts for updates to release later on, once you actually run out of any of this official update content?
So that I think there might be like a little bit of a thing to clarify here. So we held back Mark II's Gamma and T4 Plus and T2 Plus modules.
Okay,
and the
so
reason why we
is
did
that the only content that was held back?
Yeah.
Okay, so I misunderstood this then.
No, it's okay. So like, it's not like World of Warcraft where there's like kind of episodic releases where it's like, you know, like everyone on the server kind of does this content and then the next thing releases sort of thing. It's not like kind of like time locked or, it's the reason why we did that is that at the time when the server was open sourced and this stuff was going on when we first started, we didn't have things. Basically, the functionality that we have now is called a custom resource server. So at the time, we didn't have the ability to actually create new zones, new what are called basically entity defaults, meaning things like items, bots, modules. So we only had the definitions that the client knows about statically to use again, right? So we were very concerned that, if we use the existing Mark IIs as is and the existing T2 plus 4 plus and, the existing zones as they were, we wouldn't have anything to add or be able to tweak them after the fact. It's very difficult, for example, to, take an existing zone and say, oh, we're going to rework this whole zone. So we just like have to extract everyone's like assets out of it and migrate them somewhere, make the changes and then like do something again. So we were pretty restricted in what we could do prior to the custom resource server being released. Now that it has, we can release arbitrary zones, arbitrary modules and bots, using existing 3D models, but we can do things like custom text and custom icons and custom zones, including the decor, the altitude, the slope, and all the plants on it. So that was like a game changer, and that happened like basically halfway through. It was like a year and a half ago at this point that they opened that possibility up at all. Like we didn't even know it was going to happen. We didn't know it was a possibility. So it kind of completely upended our scope in terms of what the project could do and what the end game would be. Basically now we're not restricted in terms of what we could release. Like we could add arbitrary more gamma zones than what existed in the official game.
So if I were to put this into simpler terms, the content that was unreleased is already released, and now you are making your own concept stuff.
Yeah, it's both being released, has been released, and not yet released, right? So we released things like we repurposed T2 plus and T4 plus is actually going to be like a whole array of new modules, whereas before they were just kind of like a fixed set of modules. So now there will be all sorts of different variants for the elite modules, or the augmented modules as we call them, which is special loot that you get from stronghold bosses. We've released the Mark IIs, like we released those, and we still have, and we haven't, in so doing, because of the custom resource server, we can still make new bots, right? We were withholding those because we were worried that we wouldn't have the ability to add a new bot to the game, and we'd have to repurpose the existing Mark II definitions. I know that's a really complicated technical blah blah blah, but that was like that was the best I could try to explain, like why we took that first strategy and why it's kind of changing.
Fair enough.
And Gamma will be released again, and we're adding a bunch of tweaks to it so we can make it a scalable and extensible system, much like the Strongholds.
All right. I definitely look forward to making my own Mechanicus Forge fortress somewhere. That will definitely be happening, and it will be in the shape of a gear. That's just guaranteed. All right. My plan's disregarded. On to the next question, and hopefully I can read it correctly this time. All right. Yes, I can. All right. So I've been led to believe that many of you who are currently working on OPP have been, you've been playing Perpetuum for quite a long time. And my question is, during the time you were playing Perpetuum, when it was launched, and even during OPP, were there any like major player events that ever happened? Like I'm sure you heard about the Imperium in Eve and what happened with that, and how the big heist involved with it that stole like thousands of dollars in the real world worth of stuff from that whole collective of corporations. Where has there been anything not exactly on that scale, because that was huge. That made headlines. Has there ever been any sort of events in Perpetuum that have been like player-based rocking, like it rocked the game? Anything like that?
Yeah, this is a better question for Inda. He's definitely been there since the beginning and is more of the Perpetuum historian, and has followed and played the game since the beginning, and would know some of the past stuff firsthand, and maybe was part of some of the events. I started playing around 2014, like half a year after the Steam launch.
Right.
So I experienced perhaps the most dead period of the game, and there were some events, but it wasn't like it didn't make headlines, that sort of thing. It's just how it is. You know, so I mean, there were some wars and things, and there were people controlling certain territory, and there was a bunch of pushes on and off and whatever. But that's typical like PvP, war of attrition sort of stuff.
Well, what was the last war that was on Perpetuum's servers so far?
I think the last kind of major conflict was basically PHM, PHM/CIR had long since sort of gone into a dormant state. Ethos at the time, run by Inda and myself, we started pushing on to gammas. So we got a foothold onto Norhoop and then eventually on the solar field, and we had sort of a coalition there with I think a French corp at the time, Unity, and others. Others was also there. They took over Allsvale, I think. Yeah. No, not Allsvale. Sorry, what's the Imperth? Yeah, that's the gamma. Sorry, I'm forgetting the names.
Yeah, I'm looking. I've got the map up right now, and I'm looking through the different things.
Yeah, the gammas are not shown, but the yeah. So anyway, we kind of took the greens.
How do you?
And then
here's a question: how do you get to the gammas? Well,
they're
actually,
not yet in the game.
Right.
Right. So Omega is one of the strongholds, and then if you go further out, you can see I think the Sentinel Island further to the bottom right.
What's is the Sentinel Island the tutorial island, or is that something completely different?
That is the totally new, built from scratch, the way your mom used to make it, stronghold. That is a totally new island designed by hand, mostly by Vile.
I see. The opposite of tutorial. Ah, yes. Instead of instructing you on how to play the game, it makes you forget how to play the game and then beats your ass.
That is correct.
And throws your ass back onto the alphas.
That is right. That it is the opposite of the tutorial.
Your ass goes right back to New Virginia.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty brutal. And I think they're gonna do a run tomorrow. I think maybe there's a rumor if someone could post in chat around 2000 UTC.
I don't know if my Arbalest can handle these things. I just got the tier 2 stuff. I just got there, and I haven't even gotten the tier 2 armor yet.
Well, that's okay. I mean, some of these big server events, they allow folks to join in. Like, I think there was a pit boss kill that happened. And if you're worried about like losing stuff, just fit up a full T1 fit, just buy, whatever the cheapest is on the market. Just join in, and all you need to do is be part of the aggro, and you'll get the EP for it, and loot split if there's a boss kill in it.
Yeah, I think it was Inda who actually found a pit boss a few days ago. I was considering joining, but then I looked at the time and found out that I only have like a few minutes, and I gotta leave to go to my job. Turn the money.
That's okay. It'll pop up again, and hopefully more people post when they're about to form up to kill it.
I have to search through Hirschfield anyway to look for. I don't know if there's any most secret bosses like there are in New Virginia on Hirschfield, but I gotta look for them if there are.
Yeah, there are.
Okay,
and
so
I think we posted in pins and OP help and perhaps in the in-game news listed coordinates where you could find them.
I want to find them myself. That's what I kind of did for the ones on New Virginia. I just kind of went across the whole shoreline from where Bonnie spawns. And I found a lot of angry pirates. There are so many angry pirates along the coastline. Why are there so many angry pirates?
Yeah, the Syndicate pirate faction, they're just like, they're really angry at the Syndicate for being, a big corporation, and they're mad. They're really mad, and they'll shoot you.
Yeah, I mean, Spario and I, last Friday, we were looking for bosses, once Inda had got off, and we found the Death Dealers. And my first reaction was, okay, my first response to him was, okay, you see that Death Dealer? Kill it. And then he shot it, it didn't do anything. I figured that would happen. And then I shot it, and it didn't do anything. And I went, I did nothing to it, run away. So that wasn't a pleasant experience, us running from, something carrying, I think, at least four miniguns.
Yeah, you guys were in assaults trying to take on a pretty high buffer tank mech, I think.
Anyway, on the bright side, we did find the Imperialist scum, and we murdered him, so...
Very good.
Okay, here is, Toasty Avocado actually has a question here. I'm stealing this question. It is mine now. So so I have a new question for you. Okay, so with OPP, do you see a foreseeable endgame? And if so, what would that entail?
Endgame is hopefully something that we can further add to. So the endgame, as it was on the official, was pretty much Gamma, and it was a bit of a circular, go to Gamma to build a Gamma to have Gammas. We're hoping to add something to incentivize the use and assault of Gammas as a way to get you to some other content beyond Gamma. What that is, we're still very much in the very fuzzy concept design of what that could be and what that's for and what it leads to. But we do know necessitating Gamma beyond just building a base to have a base. Because you could just there's no purpose of going out there right now. Calixium is the only ore that is unique to Gamma, and Calixium is used to build Gamma bases. So it's you could just avoid doing that altogether, and you don't other than building a base, you don't miss out on anything.
Calixium.
So we're thinking about adding to a way to motivate people to go there for something not strictly about just building a Gamma base. Like a Gamma base to, set up a foothold in order to do something else.
I see. So Hayashi says, my end game was always killing mofos on beta, and that game never ends until the game ends. Mark II destroyers could require Calixium, says Urgle.
They could.
They could.
There could also be a whole series of other side rate bots that are more specialized that could require Calixium.
Lunar Wave says Mark III Arc when?
Yes, yeah. I think what we're going to do is we're going to release a Archie that can move at 1,000 kilometers an hour.
Excellent. That is fantastic. It's just a jet.
Yes.
You just import an F-18, and that's what it is. Oh god, that'd be hilarious. There's just all these robots, and then there's just a low poly version, from Ace Combat Zero. You just get one of those models. You just throw it into the game. Skull actually has a question here as well. With OPP and the team, what is the hardest part overall?
Oh, good question. For me, the technical challenges are actually the easiest and most fun. So, I mean, I'm kind of biased in that regard. So, coming up with new features and coding them up and making them work and thinking about, the trade-offs and, is it going to impact server performance and, what's the data model look like? Some people would call that the hardest part, but in hunting down bugs and, we had definitely a few hard bugs to find and figure out. But for me, the hardest part is actually, in a collaborative environment, getting people to agree to a shared framework of design, and how to evaluate things like what is good balance, what is the right amount of kernels to drop from a boss, what is, the range of a T4 large laser. These questions people have a lot of different opinions about, and figuring out how to navigate their opinions, their motivations, and as well as kind of a framework to evaluate those decisions is super hard. and it's also super hard to do with many people that may or may not have backgrounds in like design, or have collaborated on a team in a sort of like fuzzy way on fuzzy problems.
So the hardest part of actually developing the game is the human aspect of it.
And the friends we made along the way.
And the friends we made along the way. Null has been doing an amazing job so far, though, says Lunar. So that's Jay Lish. So Jay Lish shares his appreciation for Null.
Oh, thanks, bud. Right back at you. Shout out to the OPP team members in chat. Woo.
And to the players, of course.
Oh man, I shouldn't be a streamer. That was terrible.
Doesn't matter. I've seen worse, to be honest. I mean, have you seen the personalities of some of the top streamers? It's like talking to a fucking block of wood.
I'm stuck in a tree.
At least being stuck in a tree is worse than being stuck in a chair full of no personality. It's like talking to a fucking cinder block wall. Skull nailed it on the head there. Oh, here's another question. Sorry if it was asked. Do you feel the future of the game's roadmap leans more towards PvE, or strike the balance of PvP and PvE?
Yeah, it's definitely about the balance. Like the strongholds are probably our most extensive and extensible PvE content injection system. So, if you kind of look at kind of how the official server went, you have the Alpha Islands, which are your kind of no PvP possible sort of zones. Then there's Beta, where PvP is implicit, and then there's Gamma, where PvP is implicit, right? They're all open PvP zones. We didn't really within that system, there's no way to like add PvE content that's anything but like, a tap, which just spawns a fixed set of NPCs in a particular order, or static spawns that spawn NPCs, or roaming spawns, which are NPCs that walk around that you have to like find. Like it's a lot of the same old, and like and that's fine to have, and it's important to have those be accessible so people can get the resources they need, like your indie RP, for example. But when people choose to like really sit down and play a game, they want to be like engaged and challenged. At least I feel. And MMO sort of sandboxes like this rely a lot on player-driven content. And one thing we're trying to do with Strongholds is try to add a little bit of that dungeon experience into the sort of typical PvP sandbox MMO. So the Strongholds is an opportunity to add more difficult NPCs, different NPCs, NPCs with different underlying AI stacks, to challenge the player and give them a different experience, but also unique rewards. So the Strongholds is definitely huge PvE content, and we did want to work that in, because it's also a way to help us kind of test out and start to prototype the balance for Gamma, which is going to be a huge injection of PvP content. So we're going to try to do both, and we're going to try to strike a balance. Obviously, with each patch, it will go one way or the other. Not everything is going to be all PvP or all PvE. But we're hoping over time there will be a balance, and the ability for players of different types, casual and hardcore, whatever you pick your poison, to have some content and have some type of end game that they can pursue.
I do like having more PvE stuff, especially if it helps you build up towards the PvP. Because I feel like that's actually another thing Code went after you for in EVE Online. If you like did the PvE missions, they would criticize you for that as well. To which I ask, well then what the fuck do you want me to do? Because those are the like mining and doing the PvE missions were the two like easiest way of getting money and or materials, and they went after you for either. So I do like that, I do like having a balance of that in games like this. Because, sometimes maybe I don't want to fight a person. Maybe I want to fight a robot. Excuse me.
Yeah, and it's important to have that sort of alpha or protected zone fallback to be able to do those activities to make money and get assets. Because if people are constantly exposed to PvP and are losing everything faster than they can gain it, and they don't have a means of gaining it without risking something, then they're gonna lose the ability to engage at all.
Yeah,
Right?
they're just
They
gonna
can't
lose
undock.
interest.
Yeah, and the only way you make money is by undocking and engaging in activities on the zone.
That is
So
that's the exact reason why I've lost interest in games like Rust, because in Rust it's you spawn on the beach, you mine some stone, you mine some wood, you build a spear and a bow, you die to a guy with a rifle. Respawn on the beach, you get some stone, you get some wood, build a spear and a bow, you die to a guy with a rifle on the beach. And it just repeats over and over and over and over and over again. And I actually, there was one point where I removed Rust off of my Steam account. That's a $40 game, and I hated it so much, I just removed it. The only reason I rebought it is because a friend wanted me to play it and stream it with them. And so I figured, alright, fine, I'll rebuy it so we can play it. And he never played it with me, so that's $45 down the fucking drain. To be fair, it's not the first time I did spend money on Tarkov. I'm not very smart. Although at least Tarkov is, you know, like the attachment system and all that to entertain me. Because, you know, while I'm waiting for scav runs to respawn, I can just, you know, sit in the inventories learning gun parts and slapping different, you know, combinations of Pickatinnies and whatnot together. In Rust, you just stare at a screen and simmer. Also, Skull had another question. With OPP, how long do you think it would be played if the game were to stay in its current state entirely, no patches, no more updates, etc.?
If he means like the current OPP state, I mean that's a good question. It lives and dies by its players, right? So I'm a firm believer that like the players are at liberty to make the game as engaging and lively as they want it to be. Like obviously, you know, while I'm here and spending time writing cool features or whatever, like I'm gonna do my damnedest to make sure those things encourage more activity. But like just because I, you know, added relics or whatever, like that doesn't make people play the game. Like players are making a choice to play the game. I'm giving them an excuse to come back, perhaps. And you know, we're balancing the game and testing things to try to make sure that experience is enjoyable when they do choose to come back. So it's it's a hard question to answer. Like I don't honestly know if there's like a kind of target fall off date where, you know, the kind of critical mass of players to make it, you know, enjoyable falls off to the point where it's just again back on life support. But people said many times that Perpetuum was dead, would never come back, but like it just keeps hanging around. I don't know what that means, but
that's what they said about Disco, and people still listen to that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I couldn't honestly tell you like what it looks like, but every update and every promotion kind of has a long tail fall off curve. And you see this with a lot of games, right? There's a big surge during a patch or a promotion, and then it falls off. The question is, in that long tail, is there enough players that are playing concurrently, or a community of players that's tight enough where they keep coming back to it?
I'd say currently at where Perpetuum is at, definitely there's enough players who play it to keep it going as it currently is. Like if they were to stay forever, it would be, I feel like Perpetuum would be fine, because like they're already in corporations, y'all already have all the tech, and y'all are just focusing on, you know, fighting each other and insulting each other's hat choices. Governor.
I wonder if Forbes is listening.
That bastard's listening. My hat is fantastic, and there's no way. Hold on, I'm gonna give y'all a free switch here. There's no way in hell, the 7 circles of hell, that you can beat this hat. There is no way. This is the ultimate hat. Oh shit, the buckle fell off. Oh no. Hold on. You can't beat this kind of Prussian drip here. You just can't. It's not possible. It's not also not wanting to cooperate with my headset. God damn it. Other way. There we go. Perfect. So now I'm gonna be doing an interview with a pickle hob on my head. Having the headphones on, it must hurt to have them on. Actually, not really. It's just a pain in the ass because occasionally taking this thing off, it'll get caught on the very jagged sides, which annoys me because it tends to rip the foam on my headset. But it's okay. Anyways, enough about my hat and about Governor insulting my hat choice. We're talking about Perpetuum. And I'm drinking soda. And me drinking soda. Excuse me. Alright. So yeah. Yeah, no, it's tied to the, you know, how many players there are and all that. That sounded very dismissive. I apologize. I don't mean it to be.
No, it's cool. It's like I just didn't have a good month target estimate for Skull.
Fair enough.
Like, you know, if OPP suddenly went completely dormant, but the server was still running, and we have the funds to do so, like, you know, how long would it naturally last? I have no idea.
Depends on how many people you threaten at gunpoint.
I suppose that's true as well.
You have the OPP death squad break into people's houses. You're playing Perpetuum. I could probably make a meme out of that. I'm gonna ask the next question and then I'm gonna make it. So the next question is, so as you may know, you might not be familiar with this, but there's certain games on this website called twitch.tv, and there's also another website called youtube.com. And there's people on these absolute lunatics, these psychopaths, these crazy people and dangerous to society who will actually show off games on these websites. I don't know if you know about them. But
no, tell me more about this lovely platform called twitch.tv.
It's fucking awful. Stay away from it.
I'm gonna tell you.
You don't have to. They're scoring me for ads anyway. The bastards. They're making the same damn mistakes YouTube is.
Scoring you, like scoring in a good way, like giving you points?
No, they've apparently implemented a system that it will score you based on like how family friendly you are and give you ads according. And I'm hoping, like on YouTube, it's worse because it like determines whether or not like you get viewers to your channel. A lot of big YouTubers have been having trouble with that as well. But it's coming to Twitch in just ads, and I'm hoping what Twitch will do is like if somebody is like has a score that puts them in the 18+ bracket, they get ads for 18+ stuff. Like they get stuff for beer, men's razors, fuck it, Nataku, I don't know. Shit like that. Shit that would be marketed to, you know, adults. Whereas somebody who, you know, has a better score, which puts them in, like, say, the 13+, they get Fortnite ads. And just that. Just Fortnite.
Yeah, just Fortnite.
Just Fortnite ads.
It'll get there. I'm sure they're just, like, you know... I think it was like, you know, they mark people that are, quote, brand risks or whatever.
Brand
and they don't
risks,
want,
brand
you know,
friendly.
whatever it is. Yeah.
Hopefully not, because that's why I switched from YouTube to Twitch. Because with YouTube, it's if I upload consistently, do I swear? Do I censor enough? Is my content friendly to begin with? Like, am I playing a shooter or not? Whereas on Twitch is, how many viewers do you have? What game are you playing? Done. Excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess because Twitch is more focused around games, it's like you're gonna be exposed to, you know, more in-game violence and stuff anyway. So I think it's kind of baked in. Whereas YouTube is kind of just general purpose, like anyone could upload a video about anything. So
I just wish the Twitch community console would understand that, because they don't seem to. Not very well. But enough about complaining about Twitch. Man, jokes aside, when it comes to stuff like Perpetuum involved with Twitch and YouTube, and this actually might tie into whatever you were planning to tell me about later on. So this would actually be a perfect opportunity if you so chose to bring that up. Has it ever been a consideration to have a dedicated person on your staff for promoting Perpetuum in this way on like Twitch or YouTube? Or did you think it was a better decision to have people stream Perpetuum or make YouTube videos of Perpetuum on their own time rather than just have like a dedicated person on the team to, you know, promoting the game? And, you know, I just thought of this as an add-on to it. Have you ever considered having somebody make devlogs for Perpetuum?
Oh my god, whoa. So, like, awesome ideas, like, totally. Oh, this is great. This is actually going a little bit further than what you know, some of the guys on the team were batting around in the last meeting. So, oh man. So I would love if there was someone who their sole focus was like make videos, like, you know, for promoting or just showing gameplay or just streaming. I wonder if someone's promoting themselves. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I
But
couldn't think. Couldn't
but
think
I've got the stream pulled up on another screen. It was like delayed.
Yeah, I couldn't think of one. I'm gonna zoom out before, you know, I blind some people with, you know, how fucking white I am. Jesus Christ.
So
Lunar Wave just says too close.
yeah, so we were thinking about, like, in general, like how to incentivize streaming of Perpetuum in general. Like, you know, there's like these partner programs and other things that other games have and whatever.
Twitch drops.
Oh, if we could do that.
That would actually be kind of sick, though. Like, oh, you know, people have been watching this. You can get, like, 500 EP if you watch the streamer for, like, 2 hours.
Yes.
And you have your Twitch. That would be sick, dude.
It would be sick. I looked at the API trying to figure out how they get that done, but it's, like, mostly for it's mostly for the other way around. Like, the games are already plugged in, so I don't know if there's, like, a special program, like, you have to be accepted into to get Twitch to send you messages about people watching that game for you on the server, on your server, to kick off and send things to certain players. There's also the Twitch integration problem.
The only example I can think of that, like, being something that was made by a community that involved, like, Twitch integration is Twitch Spawn, the Twitch Spawn mod for Minecraft. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I actually do have a thing on the channel points thing specifically for Twitch Spawn. The entire idea around it is basically when you're playing Minecraft, somebody can donate or follow or subscribe or use channel points or any of the, like, interactions beyond chatting to basically cause things to happen. And in fact, there was a VTuber that I was playing with who goes by the name Cybernova, who I used to play RL Craft with them. And then later on, we moved to a different mod pack called MC Eternal. And what we'd do is we'd have Twitch Spawn all enabled for everyone, and people would donate, and they'd cause havoc. Quite a lot of havoc. In fact, there was one guy who, for a time, was banned off of my channel because he was causing so much havoc on the other one that I figured that's a pretty good safeguard to, you know, not let this gentleman on my channel. And then the worst part about it was when he did finally find my channel, he didn't fucking donate.
Oh.
So not only was I scared shitless about him, when I stopped fearing the Reaper, I didn't even get a payout.
Unbelievable.
The nerve of some people. I ask for damnation and they don't give it to me.
Yeah, the Twitch, yeah, if we could set up something where we can associate, like, a player with a Twitch account and then hook up something with the API if they have this kind of stuff, that would be super cool. Because, like, I mean, what's better than, like, getting progress in a game like that's like has a persistent, like, you know, accumulation of things like an MMO.
Getting progress by watching a streamer.
by watching a streamer, right? That's like a cool symbiosis that like I saw with a lot of games that they had on Twitch. So, but on your idea, so anyway, so there's that kind of aspect of like how do we just incentivize people to stream in general, kind of as like a third party, and like provide them with resources and guidance and give them special access to post things on Discord to also help promote their own channel, right? It's about kind of mutual benefits. And what's really interesting, and we kind of ran into roadblocks with this earlier, was that we approached some streamers and YouTubers, and a lot of them didn't want to bite because sometimes the algorithm or the way they're promoted or whatever actually takes a hit if they post a video that underperforms. So if they
that is true in
perceive,
YouTube's case.
yeah. So I don't know about Twitch, but like on YouTube, at least in one case, it's like, hey, could you just check this out? You could even give us an honest review. You don't have to BS it. Like, you have your audience and you want to maintain your integrity. So like, if you want to totally trash perp because it's like this old, hilarious, awful avatar creating game, like I'm still seeing my icon there.
The avatar is probably the funniest aspect of the game. If you want to criticize Perpetuum for it, criticize the the Theosaurus and the pedestal, the standard mechs, because
The names.
Yeah. What the fuck are I don't fucking know what they're called. Do I look like I know what any of the gravel? I'm calling that the gravel, the cane, because that's the only one I know. And the
bagel.
Is there one called the bagel? No, the Seth.
There's the Yagel.
Hey people, Seth here. Have you ever wanted to play as a robot in a robot world? I love Seth Talk. That's a great channel. Sidetracked. But I've noticed with the Seth and the Grofo, specifically, their walk animations are fucked.
Yeah, at some point they increased the walk speed of all robots across the board, but they didn't update the animation to match.
You should look at RPG's avatar. RPG's avatar?
Is that
that was Mulsha. Militia telling me that. It's just funny looking. Morbid Harvest. It's not that, gentleman. Is he online at the moment? General chat. Ongoing interview with Dev Nova, one of the command. Prototype Virus says, join at me, Hardies. And I completely misread that. Which gentleman is that? One sec. Okay, Militia's gonna send it to us. In the meantime, though, were you still going on with the with your answer to the question, or?
Yeah. So on the notion of having someone, quote on the team or on staff and all that stuff, bear in mind, Open Perpetuum is a completely open source, all volunteer and all donation funded, right? There's not like compensation involved. But if there were someone that volunteered in that capacity, and if also they grew their own channel too, that's great. But if someone wanted to volunteer that capacity and like literally their purpose on the team is just to stream their antics in Perpetuum, 100% behind it. Like, holy cow. Like the more people do and show off Perpetuum, the better, because I think a lot of people, they don't even give it a chance, and so many things about the game has been hidden because there's not very many recent videos and many recent playthroughs, and it's not, you have to really dig around to see what Perpetuum is like, and no one wants to put down the $5 just to see what it's like. They want to see a video.
Okay, that's fucking bullshit, though. The game's $5, you cheap fucks. It's $5. I don't want to sound like a certain streamer, but that's $5 compared to like the most recent release that are like $60. And here's the one major benefit of Perpetuum versus Eve. Perpetuum is $5 flat. Eve is $15 a month. Compare the prices. That's $15 a month versus $5 period, and that's it. Also, I've just been shown RPG's thing, and here it is.
Excellent.
You might have seen me giggling a little bit there. It's because that appeared on my screen. Population is a big part of it. LMAO. That's true. I mean, like Eve does have the have more population, but still, it still annoys because it's like this is a pretty good deal for a game. Like if you don't want to pay for Eve, and you want a game like it, Perpetuum is like the best game for you. 13 viewers, holy shit. Yeah, that's the thing. You were talking about how like people are saying, you know, like people didn't want to stream this game because it would, you know, tank their analytics or whatnot. This is probably the most popular game on my channel right now to stream ever.
Yo, sick.
Like this.
That's amazing to hear.
Like in the past, I think 2 weeks, I've gotten some of the most viewership out of just this game. More viewership than I think I've gotten with H3VR, and I think more viewership than I got with From the Depths. Hell, I want to stream this game already. Yeah, no, if Skull wants to stream it, yeah, y'all should check Skull out as well. He is a smaller streamer than I, but he is a very active member of the community. My community, that is. Also, hold on. Hosty Avocados has said, this is a funny, strange question, but hear me out. If I could wave a magic... Hold on. You're getting to a question that's actually a question I have right now. Or that I have later on. Hold your horses. We're gonna get to that one.
I won't read it. I won't read it.
I'm telling him to hold his horses, not you. You hold your horses too, though. If you have any horses.
Horses held.
Okay, so next question. Yeah, we kind of have been talking about Eve, and this was the question I asked Inda during the last one, which is the same question about what do you like, disregarding the time difference between Perpetuum and Eve's release. Like, what do you think? Well, was there anything you thought Eve did better than Perpetuum in any capacity that might have, like, you know, pushed Eve above it? Anything like that?
Yeah, I think just like I guess they're well, the thing is, like, I can't really compare apples to apples, like the early game of Eve and early game of Perpetuum, you know, being, you know, X number of years off, and what the state of each was when they first launched, and how it compared to a similar cohort of games and options out there for consumers at the time. I think, you know, there is something to be first to market, you know, that definitely is a thing. Sometimes it like kind of creates its own market. Like, you know, in some aspects, Eve might have been kind of the first PvP sandbox and a single persistent universe kind of MMO like it, and with a sci-fi setting and stuff. I think maybe the things that would rival it at the time were things like Anarchy Online, maybe? I don't know how PvP sandboxy it was, though.
I also played that, but I didn't play much of it. I did have a gentleman come in and say, yeah, you're putting your skill points into all the wrong things in my chat, but that was years ago, I think. Do I even still have it on my thing? Yeah, here's Anarchy Online. The last time I played it was 3 years ago in May. And I only played... No, that doesn't make sense. I played more than a minute. I made a whole stream out of it. I did play that one, though, and from, like, the very opening thing, it didn't seem... It seemed to me like a standard RPG experience, to be honest. At that moment. I didn't get into, like, I suppose, the meat and potatoes of the game.
Yeah, so maybe that was more of a kind of straightforward MMORPG, more in the vein of WoW, less of Eve.
Yeah.
So in a sense, like, Eve maybe had the sort of first, at least kind of successful breakthrough in terms of creating that niche. You know, I could be wrong. Like, I'm not I don't have a full history of what games were out when, of what genres and stuff. and sometimes the victor kind of writes history here in terms of what we are impressed with being the first to market.
Yeah, so it really does just come down to, the time difference.
Yeah, it could be, but I think also, I think there's some parts of like, for example, Eve has traversal velocity for tracking for their combat. Like that's an interesting and also, computationally, um, complex thing to keep track of. Whereas in Perpetuum, you don't have that, but you do have things like cover, line of sight, and obstacles. So there's like different things that different games took different paths with, and what they chose to kind of like add complexity to the combat system with. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's Perpetuum was trying to be like a like just an Eve alternative. It's like instead of spaceships, you're on the land, and a lot of the other same mechanics were largely based on the same kind of core principles. And it obviously appealed to the same group of players. I guess the question is for the price point and how they marketed it and the reach that they got. Could they have done something differently and would have turned out differently for them? Maybe. Maybe it's also the financial model. Maybe they should have sought more external investing, and they didn't. They just wanted to grow something small in house with like whatever investment they had to begin with.
I definitely think that, like, I think that, like I said before, Perpetuum's worth, and its competition towards EVE Online at this current moment, and when Avatar switched over to this one, is when it went from a pay by month to just a pay once. Because me personally, I don't like subscription-based models. I tend to burn out of games pretty easily if I overplay them. Surprisingly enough, like, Perpetuum is a one game that, like, I don't burn out of. I've sat here on my ass for like 6 hours playing Perpetuum, and like eventually I'll just be like, yeah, okay, I'm done for the day. But like it'll never get to a point where I'm just like, I don't want to play this game anymore for like a solid 6 years. Like that's happened with Eve. In fact, I think when I first started playing Eve was back in maybe 2013, and then I stopped playing it for years, and then I started playing it again back in 2019, and I was like there for a month, and then I was like, this is fucking boring. Gone. And I stopped playing that. It's not happened with Perpetuum yet. And I don't want to say it never will, because it might. And I'm hoping it doesn't. But so far, it's on a good track. I mean, I've already got, like, let's actually check here. It was closing 2 days worth of playtime. And I only started playing like 2 weeks ago. So that's a good sign. And of course, I've only paid $5, or I paid $10 for it, but people now will pay $5 for it, and I think that's a major incentive to get Perpetuum over, say, EVE Online or something, because you don't have to pay, $15 a month to play something that you can pay $5 period for. I think that's a really good deal.
Oh, you must have purchased it a few years ago.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I did. In fact, if I look through my account details, I can probably find the exact date I purchased it. Control F.
But on the notion of like the longevity of playing an MMO and stuff, what I found works best is to avoid burnout, like playing it too intensely, too quickly, and to like pace yourself with expectations of meeting goals and dealing with setbacks. Because like, eventually someone's gonna kill you.
I actually bought Perpetuum before the game died. I bought it back in November 22nd of 2017.
Oh.
I thought I had bought it afterwards, but apparently I bought it alongside Battlefleet Engineer 5089, Anti-Sphere, Wallpaper Engine, which I haven't used at all despite the fact that I own it, and Space Run Galaxy.
Yeah, I think by November 2017, we technically already formed the project because they had already announced they would be launching or open sourcing the server and releasing the server installer.
Also, Skull says he's mildly sad. Also, Hayash, I was going to mention this while you were talking about when you thought how you thought Eve and Perpetuum measured up to each other. Hayashi said, I think one of the big things that made Eve Bloom was the single shard universe at one time. Which, I mean, I have, like, the whole universe of Eve is fucking massive, so it does make sense. I opened up Cortana again after they updated it, and now my mod to it, which references Halo, no longer works. I don't understand why Cortana doesn't do that, period. Microsoft has the fucking rights to Halo. That's a different story, though. Where were we? I got sidetracked majorly. I apologize. Hello?
So I think you were saying you were going to be our Twitch ambassador.
Oh yeah, no, I'm down.
No, that's sick. I'll follow up with you on that. That is.
Hooray! I've got a second job now. What does it pay with? Clout.
It pays zeros of dollars.
It pays in clout. And that's the internet big bucks these days.
Yes.
All right.
Hey, if it grows your channel, I mean that's cool. I mean I'm happy to help.
Like I said, this has been like one of the most popular games on my channel, if not the most popular game on my channel. I have 13 viewers, and it's continued on for the better half of 2 hours. Neon Street Cred. Yep. I'm getting those fat stacks of NIC. Very nice.
They'll be rolling in T4 Plus in no time.
Excellent. All right. That's question 14 on to 15. We've probably had at least 20 questions already from the questions I had written down and the ones from chat. So that's where we're quickly approaching 30 questions. Next one. All right. Oh, hello. Back to Attack has joined the IFDF Navy. Welcome aboard, son. Thank you.
Yo, guys, make sure you follow. Click that follow button.
What does that put us at? Hold on, let me actually check this. Oh, we've hit 230. Shit. Nice. Also, Skull has been recording it. We're at 22 so far. Been counting how many we've done. What's going on, Back Attack? Welcome. We're just about to get into our 15th question, which regards the modularity system in Perpetuum. So, from my understanding, all the robots in Perpetuum are modular, meaning like the torsos, the heads, the legs, and arms if they have them. That's all module, so you can mix and match these parts to make different robots and whatnot. At any point, have you ever had any concepts for different modules? Because I know you can't add any to the client as of right now, as far as I'm aware anyway. Have you ever made any concepts of them? And in that sense, have any of you made any like 3D models of these in the hopes that eventually you'll have access to that client-side data and you'll be able to upload them, and when you do, you'll have the 3D models and everything made for them ready?
That's interesting to, anticipate getting access to that stuff. So yes, the robots, as you see them in the game, the legs, head, and chassis are separate models that kind of basically, have predetermined locations where the next model begins and rotates. So there's like the sort of kinematics of all those things is fixed and understood and built into the animation rigging of, however that data is compiled. So the problem is, from the technical standpoint, and this is the curse of a custom game engine. The assets. Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to get like a zoom-in shot of my Arbalest to compare it to the, I think it was the Locust, to show off like that whole modularity system, but I can't expand the equip menu.
Yes, the UI is rigid.
Damn it.
I think best thing you could do is probably undock, and then someone else can undock with a locust.
Who
Quick,
else?
stream snipers, go!
Whoever here has a locust, that is currently docked at Hirschfield. Undock. You know who I am. Skull, do you have the skills to use the locust? Because I'm pretty sure if you complete the tutorial, it gives you a free locust. Also, you're still in New Virginia. I've traveled the whole distance without using teleports. It's at least a 20-minute walk.
Oh, why did you use teleports?
Me? Oh, because I'm lazy.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, you just wanted the autopilot.
Yeah, I just went with the autopilot.
Okay. Well, do you remember, guys, if you're new and you're entering Hirschfield, do you remember that there are red NPCs on Hirschfield that actually do damage? New Virginia is the one where you're totally safe. You just have the ones at ECM.
Speak of the devil. There's some NyQuil Grand Observers over there.
Yep, those are the ones that'll kill you.
How bad actually are they?
They're pretty deadly. We actually nerfed them twice, so like
Skull.
you can see them from a very long distance. They move slower, but observers in general are pretty deadly. If you encounter observers on beta and they aggro you, you better be able to escape pretty quickly.
Hmm. Also, Skull only has a Victor here.
Well, that's okay because that one is a good example. They made the Syndicate robots with basically the same existing models. So it has the legs of a chameleon, the body of.
I can actually hold on. Let me actually get I can get my Jaegel.
Yeah. Grab the Jaegel and you'll see the difference. And then a head of the intact.
Unpack.
Oh gosh. I'm so embarrassed I don't know these.
That's not the Jaegel. Activate the Jaegel. There we go. The bagel. Deploy with absolutely no weapons because this is a sound strategic tactic. Where have you gone? There you are. Hey, it's J-Trade. Hello, J-Trade. We're gonna go over there, see what he has. Oh. J-Trade, why are you looking at me like that?
Yeah, there you go. So you can see it's the same body, different paint color, natural paint color, I should say. But otherwise it's the same model with the same hard points for modules.
If I ever make a Jaegel doctrine, I'm calling them the Bagel Bites. Small ass mofos, says Hayashi.
Bagel bites. I love it.
Bagel Bites are the shit, though. In all honesty, they're the shit. You might have a crack at it soon. Are we gonna have the are we gonna have a charge made entirely of Jaegels? Is that what you're implying, Hayashi, we're gonna be doing here? Either way, you'll know when PvP is happening. Fair enough. Alright. So, continuing on to that question, though, we were talking about how, like, the whole modularity thing is. Did you already answer whether or not you had made any concepts?
No, I don't think we got that far. No. So the reason being is that at first the custom resource server wasn't even a thing, so we didn't have a way to actually provide any of those resources into the client when they connect anyway. And then once they did release the custom resource server, and we started unpacking the client-side resources and trying to figure out the format of the data, the curse of the custom game engine is that the game assets, meaning like the unit of data that represents a model, its animations, how textures map onto it, blah, 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 as well as how various functions in the game like invoke different animations on the model as you see it. right? Like when the gun fires, like what the color of the animation is and what the location of that gun flare. Like that's all baked into this what one of the devs, AC devs, called a Perpetuum object. So our understanding of this is that it's basically a big compiled file of textures and model parts and animation data. I don't even know what animation data looks like. Meshes or STL usually, but I don't know how animation rigging works. So all that stuff does exist. It's in a file, and it got in there somehow and was made with programs that do exist, and should be, if properly decompiled, usable again. The problem is, we could spend a whole year trying to reverse engineer how these files got compiled, strip them out, and then also write a tool to recompile them. Or we can just appeal to the AC devs and be like, hey, we're making some progress here. We're making use of the custom resource server, and like we're getting some traction. But now we want to kind of add like new models to the game or new animations, or maybe we at least want to be able to customize a texture on a new instance of a robot. That's something that currently doesn't work because the model instance that we reference for a new definition has the texture mapped and baked into it. So when we want to change a texture file, which we can, it changes the texture for all robots that use that texture.
That is a problem.
Yeah, so there's all these things that are linked together using this crazy A3M file or GFX file that is in the client resource. So if we can unpack that and successfully pack it back and modify the data with existing modeler technology, then absolutely. But we haven't made any progress or put any hands on that because there's a lot of stuff that we are committed to doing, namely Gamma, to get that stuff out the door. Because we can always come back and say, oh, destroyers, instead of having Lithus legs, let's actually give it something cool. Right? We could always update those after the fact, and it doesn't actually change anything material to the balance or the game, but it's rather just a enhancement to the visual aspect of the game.
Can I make a suggestion for when and if you get to that point?
Mm-hmm.
More quadruped legs?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Because I'm a big fan. Of course, I've referenced a bit that I'm a fan of the Adeptus Mechanicus from Warhammer 40k, and I'm a big fan of the Onager class dune crawlers, and I like how they typically tend to walk in games. I like quadrupeds that are a bit slower, but they have more like purposeful movements. And the problem with stuff like the arbalists and whatnot is they move very quickly.
Yeah, they have these like little scrambly legs.
Yeah, they're scrambly. I don't want scrambly. I want stomping. I want to stomp around.
Yeah. I would like to see something if we did like a quadruped like that, where the legs, where the kind of knee joint rises above kind of the main chassis.
Yeah, kind of like.
So it has that leverage, and the seat of the chassis is really low.
Yeah, I'd like
kind of
to
like
see that
spidery looking.
Yeah, that would be cool. Also, I want me a mech that just looks like the guard sentinels. Just one pew-pew laser says back to attack. Guard sentinels? Which one is that? Is that from 40k or is that... Hold on. Imperial Guard 40k... Oh, I know what he's talking about. Yeah. That's from the Imperial Guard. It's basically... It's a biped walker that has a las cannon built into it. Let me actually see if I can, let me bring it up. I completely forgot. Those are called Sentinels. I'm not an Imperial Guard player. And the most I get close to the Imperial Guard is the Death Corps of Krieg, and they don't have Sentinels. They have horses and lances with explosives on the end. Zenith has a chest cannon. What's the Zenith?
It's the Velotica mech war. It has a chassis slot that puts a turret weapon in the middle of it.
Oh.
The Ewar robots were actually some of the later models that were introduced into the game, and it kind of shows their animations are a little bit more sophisticated and nuanced. So you could kind of see also how they kind of evolved in their design throughout the game. And I think the Scarab was the last thing that they introduced.
All right. Also, very quickly, I'm just going to show off the Sentinel real quick so people know what I'm talking about here. That's a Sentinel. That is a Acadian Sentinel, I'm pretty sure. Acadia broke for the guard did. Y'all know the thing. Alright. Back on track from that. But yeah, no, okay. So it's not possible simply due to the fact that client locked.
Yeah,
Right?
there's a considerable amount of work to be done to make that possible, or a tool could be provided in a compiled form. They don't have to open source it, but they could provide something to allow servers like us to be able to at least augment the existing model data now that we could serve custom model data.
Damn it, I'm getting back off the track. Back to attack says, I hate all this about Cadia. What about Tanith? Listen, Cadia was at the front line of the 14th, or was it the 13th Black Crusade, fighting against Abaddon the Despoiler, and the planet broke before the guard did. Cadia gets all that attention for good reason. I'm not sure where Tanith is, and I'm not sure their significance, but we'll get to them when we get there. Gilliman hasn't reached the Cadian sector yet. I don't think, anyway. I haven't finished Battlefleet Gothic 2. Well, and we'll get back to 40k at a later date hopefully when I'm playing a 40k game. Right now, we're playing Perpetuum, and we're talking about Perpetuum with one of the Perpetuum devs. So that's what we're talking about. Alright. Next question, before I get sidetracked again by somebody talking about 40k. Alright, so, about the bosses in the game. So, the bosses, I've noticed, they don't tend to have any class icons. Because when you look at some of the enemies, when you look around on the map, you'll see, like, the light ones tend to have, it's just a cross. The heavier ones tend to be like, it's like a circle with a little cross made out of arrows around it. The heavier industrial ones are like a box, things of that nature. With the boss ones, it's just a square. And I've also noticed that when you do attack them, I think at least one has actually had a name. The rest of them just say announcer in the vicinity. But yeah, I have icons for them ready. Just kind of lazy about uploading them, says Lunar. Well, you just answered the question. This was...
Oh, I think you're talking about the landmark icons for the class of robot that you're engaging with.
Well, it was kind of the question. Well, he explained why they don't have that stuff, but the question was more. I assume that you yourself had made these those like secret bosses, like say Bonnie on I almost called New Virginia New Vegas because it uses the same damn abbreviation.
Yeah, indeed. So all the bosses and all the Syndicate NPCs, all the bosses are new NPC definitions that we added. We added them before the custom resource server was released. So all of them had that square icon, which is the default landmark icon for a robot that doesn't have that properly associated with its definition.
Is there? I'm assuming Lunar could probably answer this since it seems he's the one handling this. Do you have any custom icons specifically for boss class units, or were you just planning on using something that was in the existing game? Hello?
Oh, sorry, were you asking Lunar?
Both of you, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know how long the delay is.
He can answer in chat, but Jalish is one of our in-house graphic artists. So he's been making the icons. So there's two different kind of icons we're talking about here. One is the one that you see when you pull up the information window, the little square that's kind of a graphic PNG that's has color and whatever. Then there's the landmark icon, which is like, it's orange or red if it's an NPC, right? And it's a cross or a bigger cross or a square or a bigger square. That indicates the class of the robot. Those are actually fixed. Um, I've even asked, when we released destroyers, I was trying to add a new custom one of those what are called terrain icons. Um, they Unfortunately, this is another reason to get tooling to help us deal with this. Those are baked into those resource definitions. So somewhere in the definition of all the models for robots, for some reason, the terrain icon for what a mech or a heavy mech looks like is baked into that file. And if I add a new one and I try to associate with it, it'll just like not use it because it doesn't know about it. It has to be put in that file somehow. So that is, and the only reason it has a square is because the custom resource definition for it has not been updated, and that's my fault for not updating all the boss entries on our server.
Okay, I just came up with this question on the fly here as well. So, a lot of what I've been hearing that you need specifically from avatar creations is it sounds like what you really need from them at this moment is well, you do need the client. Of course, you edit the main game, but alongside that, you also need sort of like a development kit, a sort of a GEC, if you will, using Fallout terms for this. If you were to obtain such development kits, I am aware that players can make their own servers, like an own private server, and just play in it by themselves. And I did discover this because of Skull, and I did ask you about it earlier, so you already know about that. Is my camera crooked? I feel like it is. In that regards, would it ever be in consideration to release that dev kit publicly so that people could make workshop stuff and potentially use that workshop as, say, like a pool that you could like say, hey, this guy made something cool, let's ask him if we can put it into the official game? Or is that like way too far to the future?
I mean, well, it's this is all up to Avatar, right? So what people do on their server and what they do with tools provided by Avatar is their business. And I think it would benefit, all server hosts, to have access to something like that if they wanted to, basically just like use the Perpetuum game engine simply to just like do cool weird art. Like that's like totally cool. And if that was able to be, if those assets were able to be created and uploaded, aka like in an open source fashion, the equivalent for art assets, I guess, it would be the workshop. Then I guess it's just a question of like, what license do they put on? Is it Creative Commons? Do they want some attribution for using their assets? That sort of thing. If they want to retain rights, all that sort of stuff. But the crux of this is, can anyone unpack and repack that asset in a way that's compatible with the Perpetuum client as it is? And that's the main hurdle.
For something like that, I see. Alright. Yeah, it just occurred to me that, have it like workshop support for me has always been like a major like component of a lot of like really popular games. I mean, Christ, look at Skyrim. Skyrim has been around for a decade at this point, and I think part of the reason for that, and as well as like to an extent Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, all these Bethesda games, all these major titles that they've released have like they still have popularity. It even goes as far back as like Oblivion and even Morrowind, I'd say. They're all like still active because, well, one, like Oblivion and Morrowind seem to be liked a lot more than Skyrim, but all of those games, they all have a modding community. And I feel like mods are a really great way to keep a game going, because if you make like great mods for a game, and people come to that game for those mods, it kind of extends, the replayability, or just the playability in general of the game. So I feel like that would actually be really beneficial for Perpetuum, especially if it helps out like you guys, because like I said, like if somehow the workshop works out, what you could always do is say, like, go to a guy who, say, maybe they uploaded like an HD version of the Arbalest or something like that. Yeah. You could say, hey, that's really cool. Could we use this in the game's actual files? Of course, whether or not this community individual lets you is up in the air, but this hypothetical person.
Yeah, that's the kind of general spirit of what open source should be, right? Is that everyone is kind of contributing to a shared pot of knowledge and assets, and through open source licensing, you're granting permission, at least in some form, for other people to use it and modify it for their purposes. There might be other stipulations, like there's the BSD free, like with capital F, the free license that stipulates you can't use it for commercial uses. But then there's other more permissive licenses that you could take someone's free work and then try to bundle it into a product that you sell. So and that's what we're doing. And also with the server code, right? They released an open source repo, we forked it, and we've been building on that fork, and we've been building associated tooling and other things to help us build other things with the game, things like the registration portal, things to help us do things in the database, things to help us generate islands. Like, all that stuff is open source. The idea being that people can also help contribute to that as well as use it for their own purposes. So that's kind of like what we're trying to do, and it'd be great too that you don't have to join the team to participate in something like that. For example, like just the other day, we got like a completely unknown third-party person on GitHub contribute a fix to our repo. Like, that's awesome. Like, I didn't have to have a meeting about it. I didn't have to tell someone to do it. Like, I didn't have to do it myself. Like, out of nowhere, someone just like said, like, hey, I'm going to fix this class for you.
That's the effects awesome. And fuck off.
Yeah, that's so cool. And that's totally what open source is about, right? Is like, being able to, with a team of people, either explicitly team together or kind of implicitly by participating in a larger community, like, create something better than what you could do by yourself.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I mean, there's entire patches for Fallout 4 to fix the shit that Bethesda refuses to. And, if and that's entirely community made, it's beneficial to have, like, a whole community to be able to work on the game rather than it just be, the team and them by themselves. Because, like you just said, you just got free effects from GitHub for the game. And that's pretty awesome. Speaking of people doing things externally to Perpetuum, though, next question: has Perpetuum ever had any issues with hackers of any kind? And has OPP specifically had any issues with hackers at any point? When I say hackers, I mean like people who hack the game to cheat and whatnot. I don't mean people who hack in it to steal like login information or whatnot, although I'm assuming all games have that problem at some point.
Yeah, so I think one of the big problems also with just unbolting what was a proprietary MMO server and then making it open source is that all of your security vulnerabilities are also made completely public. So a lot of their things were kind of security through obscurity. They did some kind of weird, tricky encryption things to kind of just make it hard if you, let's say, wanted to emulate the client and like push commands that were unexpected or something like that. They do a pretty good job server side about like, is this an authenticated user? Are they authorized to do this thing? Like, they can't arbitrarily escalate permissions and stuff. But there are still issues with the base fork, or at least what's released in the server installer. And there's also just basic things about when you set up your server, basic server hardening techniques. Like, if you set up things with default passwords, like, there's going to be problems. And if you've ever set up a server and looked at the server logs on like Nginx or whatever, people are just scanning your ports and running scripts on them, trying to log in with admin, whatever it is. And if they get in, they run some script where they download the database or whatever it is. It's just, these bots are running 24/7 everywhere. And like, I don't know for sure like that the Perpetuum server list is a target for any of these things, but like, it's like, as soon as we set it up, we were getting scanned.
Ooh.
So like, fortunately, and I think Inda mentioned this, like we've got Blair, who's a professional DBA kind of sysadmin sort of guy, and he was very adamant about doing a lot of these things, and like, we're a lot better off for it. I don't understand half the things that he did. Like he made a bunch of different ports be different things, and like it's the whole rigmarole. But like when you put like something out on the internet, and you've got open ports and things that people can query and hit, and there's personal identifiable information, or at least emails on a database, like we're obligated to do our best to protect that.
I wish all companies had that kind of mindset.
Well, I mean, they should, and with some data by law, at least in some jurisdictions.
Yeah.
But I mean, you kind of have to do the best you can. But anyone who says like it's 100% secure is either lying or they don't really know what they're saying. Like I guarantee there's a security vulnerability in the code right now that we just haven't found yet, and that someone could be honestly exploiting, and we might not know. And that's what a real hacker would do, is they would do things behind the scenes. They would wait, and then they would do whatever they wanted to do when it had the most impact. So on the client side, yeah, the game client is also kind of security through obscurity, and I have some feelings that this may be why they're not releasing the code as well. But there are people who hack and bot or try to, and we have rules against it, and we hope people abide by them, and we take punitive actions when we tell, hey, don't do that, and they keep doing it, then we'll take punitive action to make sure everyone's playing kind of on the same playing field. We haven't had people like hacking in terms of like speed hacking, or like doing things, stretching the client to do things that it shouldn't. And we haven't had anyone, to our knowledge, again, I'm going to be honest, to our knowledge, that has had unauthorized access to the server.
All right. The good news is there's only a handful of islands that they could be hiding on, so there's not exactly like, I don't know if you ever played Legacy Rust. There used to be this whole section of the original map that was called like Cheater's Gulch or something like that, where duplicators would go specifically to, duplicate items, because it was like an out-of-sight area. There's not exactly an area in anywhere on Neon, because, well, there's only like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 islands, minus the 2 strongholds. So there's not really anywhere to hide if they want to do that, and even then, like you said, security through obscurity. It seems like they actually did a pretty decent job locking it down.
There was, back on the official server like years ago, there was a duping bug that got heavily exploited.
Ooh.
And exploited for a long time. Like, it became the majority of the assets of one particular large corporation. And it was a big deal when they finally cracked down on them, and that whole corp kind of shut down after the fact. But there have been bugs and kind of hacking, or exploits, I should say, that have happened in the past. And that's usually what happens the most with some of these games, is like it's not hacking, but it's usually an exploit, meaning like something gets put in and is able to be used in some way, or it's a bug and it's abused in some way. Yeah.
I think that was more what I was going for with that kind of question.
Okay.
When I think hackers, I'm more thinking of like the hacking bots like Team Fortress 2. I don't know if you're aware of that whole situation, but for like the past 2-3 years, there have been people, assholes, let me call them what they actually are, who have been programming waves and waves of these bots who specifically go sniper, and they'll join lobbies in droves, and they'll kill people and occasionally spam racial slurs or just really obnoxious music. If you ever encounter this Cyber Nova fellow, if you tell them Admiral sent me and told me to tell you, can you quack, they'll get PTSD from it, and all of us know why. And those of you who were in this channel when we were playing Team Fortress 2 that one night, you'll also know why. All I will say is don't search it. Or do. I'm not a cop. I'm a streamer. But yeah, that's what when I say hacker, that was what I was typically like asking about, more just like cheaters or duplicators and whatnot. Also, the story about an entire corporation getting shit canned for duplicating. That's a pretty major one. You could have answered with that earlier.
Yeah, sorry, I was speaking more in my experience since they released open source and stuff. But and I was interpreting hacking in sort of the sense that I understood it. But yeah, exploits. If there's a bug and someone finds out about it and you can do something really tricky and it does something good for you, then that's the player will use that to the best of their ability to get an advantage in game. But they didn't shit can the whole corp. They got rid of all the assets and then the corp kind of fizzled out as a result. I think maybe one person was like suspended or banned for doing it.
Fair enough.
But they lost like I forget what the percentage was, but it turned out like all of their assets were almost gained entirely through this duping exploit that they had.
That's kind of shitty of them.
Yeah, it happens.
Don't cheat Perpetuum, folks. Don't do it.
Yeah, please don't. Like, if you find a bug and it is exploitable, and honestly, I have to give a major shout out to the community for the people that have reported this in private, and that's really important. Reporting security vulnerabilities or exploits in private gives us a chance to work on it and get the fix out before we have to say, hey, here's this exploit, please don't do it in the meantime while we work on the fix, and it's going to take us like a month to like robustly fix it. Like that, like I don't want to have to sit and police the server and like check logs to see if people are doing something. I'd rather be writing code.
Fair enough. On an unrelated note involving like not exactly exploits but just bugs, has there ever been an instance of anybody falling through the world?
So that doesn't. There's a way that you can get your altitude or your layers of the zone corrupted, or just not loaded properly, and you'll appear on Z0 basically. And you will see like all the decor and plants in their current location, but you won't see the actual slope of the landscape, and you won't see the land. And that indicates that either the layers on your local client didn't load properly, or you're running an old client that is incompatible with the new custom resource server functionality, and you need to upgrade to Steam on Steam for $5.
Buy it.
So you can get the latest updates and fixes. By the way, they are fixing things still, so that you can get those fixes as well as the functionality of being able to load custom resources, including the new islands we are adding to the game.
Nice.
Hashtag ad.
Also, on that note here, feel like we're going to need this for Perpetuum. There we go, just shove him in the corner. You know the sound effect. You know what he tells you to do.
Yes.
Buy it. Buy Perpetuum, $5 on Steam. Buy it. What are you still here for? You haven't bought it yet? Buy it. Alright. So somebody did ask this earlier. I believe it was, where was he? Which I did already. Skull, buy it again. Buy it 3 times. Buy it 4 times. Buy it for every single member in your family, man. Buy it for every single person. If your whole family isn't playing Perpetuum, you've failed. And you're banned from this channel permanently. Anyways, this was actually the last question that Toasty Avocado actually asked, which was the 18th question I had, and one of the questions I actually asked Inda, and his answer to this was that he would change the tutorial and update it and make it more inclusive as to what was added in, which should give you a hint as to what exactly the question is. The question is, if you had the ability to at any point just snap your fingers and something in Perpetuum would just change instantly, what would it be?
Anything?
Yeah, but it can only be one thing. Like, you just snap your fingers, and it's changed. It's done. It's manipulated in whatever way you want. No bugs, no glitches. It's just done.
The clients be implemented in a existing open source game engine.
That's a pretty good. Beyond that, that's a pretty obvious one. I should have seen that coming.
Yeah, because that opens up a lot of things. I guess maybe to scope it down more.
Like on a gameplay level, not
Yeah,
as
yeah,
much on a
yeah.
programming level, like on a gameplay level. Looter
That's a really
says,
good question.
Looter says price. You fucking lunatic! It's $5. What do you
I
mean
mean,
price?
like asking. Well, we can get to the free to play. Kind of the way the market has changed, kind of recently with these kind of games. But
Okay, that's fair.
so I think so. Inda's response about like just being able to overhaul the tutorial and make it more interactive and meaningful, as well as like optionally less onerous. Like it's like kind of an all or nothing thing, and it's obtuse and really long and lots of words, and it'd be nice if we could have a video or snippets of a video or gifs or anything. But whatever. So like in this point, like I also agree with it, but if I had to pick another kind of niche thing, kind of, but I think it would be cool. It would add an interesting and more kind of mech warrior-y feel if the bots moved with real acceleration.
That okay. I
So
completely agree with that, and I can name a game where I had the exact same thought process, and that was Star Trek Online. Don't play that game; it's terrible. But at the same time, alternating between playing that, I was also playing World of Warships. World of Warships, of course, has that where the ships all move with their weight. They all have times to stop. They all have their rudder shift times, etc., etc. And meanwhile, in Star Trek Online, those ships would just you press the left key and it just go and stop. Go and stop. It's not a good game. But I completely agree, if you could add, weight to the characters, that would or characters to the robots, and their movements and such, that'd be freaking sick, especially if it feels more if it would, work in the way it works in MechWarrior. I haven't played much, but I know exactly what you're talking about from the time that I have played MechWarrior.
yeah, it's an inertial model, right? So you also have torque and turn rate, and you can't turn very fast if you're running very fast, and there's a lot of inertia, so you can't stop on a dime and turn on a dime. And that I think adds a lot of complexity, especially to the combat system, because then you have to deal with when you fire your guns, when you pop in or out of cover, and you can't just what do they do in Counter Strike and those games? Like they corner peek and they're
Yeah.
jittering, like doing that with these huge whatever number of kilogram robots, whatever that are just massive and heavy, and they're just ducking in and out of cover around a tree or something. Like it's just so silly. Like if there was at least some commitment, like you roll out of cover, you shoot, or you get a running start, shoot while you pass an alley or something. Like that stuff is so cool, and that sort of feel and weight, I think would kind of make the game more immersive, even with the existing graphics and even with a third-person camera.
Yeah, no, I would absolutely agree. That would be really cool. The one thing I will say though is that if you were to implement that, you'd have to also implement a system that makes where the animations and the speed of the animations are dynamic to the speed that you're going. Because I mean, if you take a look at my Arbalest, I spawn right now. Let me actually bring it to the gameplay page here. Show that off. Deploying to terrain. If you take a look now, if I'm scuttling right now, what it'd have to do is if I'm speeding up, the animation starts slow and then speeds up and all that. So there'd have to be a whole system for that. What the fuck?
Yeah, so actually, if you real quick, if you look at your robot status with their armor, HP, and the Acume.
Oh, it already does that. Never mind.
Yeah, are you sliding that slider?
Yeah.
Your stream's on a delay for me.
How bad?
There you go. Yeah. Right. So it's basically picking, I guess, a different animation and speed based on your velocity setting. So the same could, at least that kind of works out of the box. We might have to tweak it or whatever. But the acceleration, just if you press W, doesn't instantly go at your top velocity.
Actually, here's a question. How come shift makes you come to a dead stop?
I think it's because like the client doesn't do well with pressing multiple keys.
Oh. What
Like
does
if
shift
you're
do,
if you're holding
period?
W and then like you press shift, it might just be like overwriting the input
I do
of
know
W.
if I press W and S, it stops. But I mean, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I think I was instinctively pressing shift to like run,
Oh,
but I'm already running. I'm running at 135 kilometers per hour. That's I think at least 61 miles an hour,
yeah.
something
The
along those
scale
lines.
is kind of weird. Like they bumped all the speeds like by 36 kph, which I think just kind of puts them in a silly range. I mean, it is what it is, you know, and it would be a very hard sell to nerf that back to what it was.
Hmm.
But it does look a bit silly. Like if you look at the mass that's moving that quickly, but it makes for interesting gameplay, and like having faster robots to move around faster and travel the world faster makes it a more convenient game to play and access more content more quickly.
Hmm.
So I understand that as well.
Yeah. Skull has said this interview has been going on for almost 3 hours, which is twice as long as it had with Inda, which is great. But it also means I have a lot of editing to do.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, no, don't worry about it, man. The new monitor isn't coming in until next week. For those of you in the Perpetuum community who don't know, I was planning on getting the video of Inda's interview done this week. In fact, I was going to upload it either today or tomorrow. And specifically, I bought a KVM module so I could switch my keyboard, my headset, and my mouse between my editing rig and my main rig here, my PC. And I got a new screen. However, the screen they sent in was the size of a fucking iPad, and I don't know why it popped up for a 720p monitor, but it did, and they tried charging me $70 for it. And so I had to go out and buy a 1080p screen, and that's not coming in until next week. So all these videos are going to come out, hopefully, by next week, or at least the first of these interviews will. I might try and get them both out one at a time. Hell, I might stitch them together. Who knows? But yeah, look forward to that. That's on my YouTube channel, and if you want to take a look at that, the YouTube channel that is, that's in the panels below. Shilling aside.
Press that subscribe button, guys.
Make sure to slap that like button. Smash that subscribe button. Break your hand on the notification bell. Also, make sure to share, but not on Twitter. If I see any of my videos on Twitter, I'm gonna cry. Not the fact that you put it on Twitter though. Twitter makes me cry anyway. He will find you. He will. I can't do that. I'm not Liam Neeson.
Yeah, the first I've ever used Twitter was for this project.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mainly just use Twitter to post stream links, and then I try to avoid it at any and all points, especially because they force you to look at the What's Happening tab. And I hate looking at that. Twitter is the only platform I use, though. Wrong, Lunar. You're using Twitch right now. Technically,
Ha!
Twitch counts as social media. You have been debunked. All right. So, next question, which kind of actually has to do with like the whole tutorial thing we were just talking about. Oh wait, hold on. Before we go on to that, I had one more question about this inertial system. Would you add a system of ramming?
Yeah, this is very interesting. So in a kind of fixed size open world, right, where bots basically can't occupy the same space, and like if there's inertia and acceleration, like there's definitely like a physics model, and like you could cause someone to bump into someone else. That actually creates a really explosive combinatorically kind of computational problem where if you get a bunch of bots stacked together and you like bowling into bowling pins, run a robot into them, and they all have a cascading series of collisions, like that could be, depending on like the way you're computing the physics, like how many derivatives you're doing, that could be very intense to compute. Like that gets computed server side, sends a message to your client to tell you to move, and it also updates everyone else's, by the way, moving as well. But you're also simultaneously bumping into other people around you. Like, holy cow. Like, imagine running a bowling simulation where every client is a pin.
That does sound like hell. So it would work in like 1v1s, but like anything larger than that, it would probably end up it just like, that sounds like old school Titan bowling in Eve. Says back to attack. PTSD, man. If somebody actually blows up from ramming and they're in a bunch. Yeah, no, that's just a nuke right there, I guess. Getting popcorned would be super fun, says Lunar. To follow up on this whole thing, because it like you were talking about, like, you know, people within one space, and it would, you know, cause a problem if they were all ramming. This clip immediately came into my mind. If it plays.
Your man, homie. I tried to sneak through the door, man. Can't make it. Can't make it. The shit's stuck. Out of my way, son! Door stuck! Door stuck! Please! I beg you! We're dead! You're genuine!
That's basically a good summary. I don't know if you had the audio on to hear the clip, but that seems like it would be a good summary of what you've just described.
Oh, was the audio through the stream?
Yes.
Oh shit, sorry.
That's all right.
Well, I didn't want to get like echoes.
Yeah, I can understand. I can just send you the clip. Hold on. Because all I have to do is just send you the video, and then you'll immediately get it. So let me actually just do that. Message.
Yeah, but one of the interesting things about like Eve is you at least. Oh well, let me see this.
You don't have to watch it. Just I hope you know what that clip is. There it is.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the there's that like I forget, there was like a Trainwreck clip of like him getting stuck in a tree. It's like when there's physics with intersection and stuff, there's all sorts of things that could go wrong, and like if people are bouncing off each other, you can kind of create like an infinite bouncing.
Wait a minute, did you say somebody did somebody in Perpetuum get stuck in a tree?
Oh no. It was like a meme from some other Twitch streamer.
Oh, I see. I was about to say that'd be hilarious if you could somehow get stuck in a tree in Perpetuum.
It wouldn't be good.
It wouldn't be good, but it'd be
the player
funny.
Would be stuck there, and they would be DMing me in the middle of the night.
Yeah, that's fair. It would be funny for like the first 10 seconds, and then it wouldn't be afterwards. All right. Okay, now we can move on to this question. So this was written Thursday night. So during the small drinking session I had last night, where I downed 3 things of Smirnoff in like 30 minutes, shots that is, I did end up making my own corporation, the Adeptus Mechanicus, of course. So, and I remember from back, I think it was Sunday, you had offered to explain some. Okay, I can tell this is where the alcohol hit, because I meant to type mechanics and I typed mechanicus again. Oh boy, I shouldn't type when I drink. I really shouldn't. I just can't do it. Doesn't mix well. I can speak just fine, but I just can't type. Regardless, so you had offered to explain some mechanics, and my one question here is, how exactly, like, what are the intricacies of corporation function within Perpetuum? How exactly do corporations work? Because I don't think there was any explanation of that in the tutorial.
There's a lot of stuff the tutorial like obviously doesn't get to because it's it's already long enough as it is, which is also kind of a problem. But like, were there anything specific, or do you just want to kind of give you an overview of like corporations and what benefits you get from having them?
Oh God. Before we do that, Lunar just pointed out. I typed Adpetus Mechanicus instead of Adeptus Mechanicus.
You misspelled your corp name?
Yep. Well, well, I have like 5 million, so I can always just burn the extra 250,000 if I needed to, but damn, that logo was hard to make. There aren't any skulls that kind of match the Adeptus Mechanicus one.
Yo, it's cool. I got you. We fortunately put in some kind of like functionality to kind of change a few things. So one of the things we put in was the ability to rename corporations. So if just DM me on in game,
All right.
so that I remember, and then I'll try to remember if I have this command documented somewhere. But this is kind of like a one-time thing, and I'm doing it just because you're a streamer, and I'm happy to support streamers. But this is generally for moderation issues.
All right. I've sent you the message. Well, I sent mail.
All right, excellent. I'll take care of it. And did you send me the correct spelling just so I have it?
Right. I could just send it through Discord, actually.
Yeah, go ahead, do that.
God damn it! I swear I put Adeptus Mechanicus as being a part of my dictionary, and it's still not going through. All right, let me just add that to dictionary real quick so it stops pissing me off. There we go.
All right, I'll take care of that after the interview.
Okay. All right, so we were going through the thing about need some corp starting funds. No, I got a decent amount of money. I got some stacks. Thank you though, I appreciate it. We're going through the corporation stuff.
Oh, right. So advantages of having a corp. One thing is that you can contribute your RP to a shared corporation tree, but similar to your personal tree, it is locked to the corporation. So if you ever disband or leave, you lose access to it. You have shared storage, so you can rent basically a storage folder in any terminal, and make different level folders, so you can have different levels of access. And you can grant members different permissions, and they could basically take or deposit into those folders as you like. Then corporations are basically the mechanic that allows one to control territory, either on beta or gamma. You basically have to have a player corporation, to take over a beta outpost or to build and establish a gamma base. So they're the central sort of mechanism and entity that allows players to access certain types of content. Now, you could run a corporation, just be like a single player or a single player with a few alt accounts in a corporation, and just use a corporation to help kind of consolidate and coordinate among your different characters. And what is highly suggested is that you join, if you're a new player, an established corporation, because they can also help you grow and learn more parts of the game, things that are more complex and things that also require cooperation among many players, right? So there's a natural incentive for corporations to sort of foster, teach, and help new players grow within the game, because they're also contributing to whether it be through tax or whether it be through participation in operations, some sort of shared goal or shared purpose. And that's the sort of big thing about, Eve or Perpetuum or Albion and all these games like this. It's all about players working together towards some sort of shared objective. Corporations are just a mechanic to allow people to pool those resources more easily.
okay, here's another quick question. How exactly would I assign research material to the corporation?
So when you right-click on a kernel and click research, that kernel basically transfers one-to-one into its corresponding type of research point.
Right.
That goes into your personal tree. When you're in a corporation, there should be a donate button, and you can choose to basically contribute X amount of your current RP to the corporation tree. Then, depending on how your corporation is set up and what permissions you have, you can authorize certain people to read only that tree and use it for prototyping their own stuff, or you could give them full access to that tree and also choose how they allocate the donated RP points.
I am not seeing a donate button.
Uh-oh. Is that broken?
It might be.
Okay, so you open up the research panel. Do you have personal knowledge base open? There's like 3 tabs. They're like small things.
Okay, I'm on corporate. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, on personal there should be a donate button, and then you can switch the corporation. You'll see the points transfer if you donate.
All right, will it donate from my personal knowledge base or just what's in my the kernels from my inventory?
It donates, so you can only donate invested like RP that you already consumed from kernels.
Okay.
Like, so when you go into personal knowledge base and you see available RP next to global progress, then those numbers there are free to be used on your own tree or be donated.
All right, all right.
But when you spend them on something, they're gone and committed to unlocking that tile.
All right. I'm just gonna drop a little bit of Pellistil because I don't really use missiles, despite the fact that I have many missiles. All right. Okay, so that's actually pretty helpful to me, although I did kind of skip the whole join corporation to make my own. But I mean, hope it'll be a learning experience. One that experiences many hard crashes into the pavement, I imagine. But one
And another note about the corp tree is that the costs are higher. So the research points to unlock something in the corp tree is 3x what your personal is. The idea being if any more than 3 people are working together, the sum total benefit would be in the favor of doing it on the corp tree.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
That's the theory anyway. You can always dedicate an account or character to doing the research and use that exclusively to start seeding the prototypes for your corporation. And then you could basically just use that guy to prototype and then hand them off to other industrialists in your corporation to then reverse engineer and run the factory jobs for. There's all sorts of ways to sort of piecemeal the industrial process among different players. So that way you don't have to spend all the RP or all of the extension points on one person or invest on one thing. But it's up to you how you use those systems.
All right, all right. Holy shit. Small armor-piercing ammunition is 4,800 common. Damn.
Oh, on the corp tree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Skull, you better start putting your work in. Do I actually... Colony management, no. Research access, limited access. Okay.
Yeah, the corp management has all sorts of stuff for controlling access to the research tree, storage folders. You can authorize people to manage members and recruit people. Same sort of stuff you would expect.
Fair enough, fair enough.
It's not as high fidelity as the stuff they probably have in Eve nowadays, but it's, comparable features.
The only experience I ever had with Corpse and Eve is we went into a war, me and a whole bunch of lads, and we managed to destroy like a cruiser. I went to go get some dinner. It was like 30 seconds in the kitchen. I was just getting some stuff out of a it's not an it's like a sort of a steam cooker thing. And I didn't hear it, but that guy in the cruiser came back a lot quicker than expected. And he vaporized all of us.
Oof.
Actually, no, that's a lie. I think one of us got away. I lost my Thrasher. Another guy, I don't remember the Galent, it was one of the Galent destroyers. He lost that one. We had one guy, and I think, like, the starting frigate. That was just gone. I think one person escaped with, like, their frigate. I can't remember who, though.
That's another thing that was different. I totally forgot about this. War decks. Not a thing. Not a thing in Perp. You can't just magically get access to PvP people. You have to be on a PvP zone.
I don't even remember where that war took place, to be perfectly honest. I do remember...
I mean, probably in HiSec, right?
I don't remember. I just remember getting my ass handed to me, and then later that night, like, I was talking on the war chat, and I was just saying, yeah, my whole squad got wiped, and people were like, oh, what happened? And I told them, we blew up this cruiser, and I left to get dinner, and he came back, and everyone just went, yeah, no, don't ever leave in the middle of a war zone. Now I know, and knowing is half the battle. The other half is committing genocide.
Holy shit, dude.
G.I. Joe.
Stop all this downloading.
I'm a computer. Stop all the downloading. Alright. Next and final question. Okay.
Yes.
So, how do you feel your team has done with managing OPP up to this point?
Oof.
Oof.
Go ahead. What's the rest of the question?
Right. Do you think that as you progress, you can make Perpetuum into a game greater than what was originally come up with?
On the second part, yes. 100% yes, we can make it better. We're making it better. We're making Perpetuum great again. Perpetuum
we are going to make Perpetuum great again.
I mean, so on a number of fronts, so we're trying to make the PvE experience more nuanced and engaging, like via strongholds, via NPC bosses. That's new. We implemented and added robot paint, something that was promised for years in Perpetuum. They never got around to doing. They put just enough things in there where it was possible for us to do it before they did the custom resource server.
Question, how do I get a hold of that?
Yes, robot paints are available in the Syndicate shop.
Ah. I hope there's one that's mechanic. Oh, can you customize them, or are they like set skins?
They're set colors. So the texture of your robot remains static, but what's kind of interesting, they kind of made things modular in a nice way. So there's a head, leg, chassis, that sort of thing. The diffuse panels on robots that are colored can actually be recolored, and it's a dynamic property of that entity. In fact, as a robot gets shot over time, that paint will chip away and will reveal like the metal underneath and that stuff. So if using the paint, we have a dev blog on how to use the paint and goes through the whole process. It's a little weird how you have to put it in the robot cargo first, but I can cover that if you need. But basically, you grab this item, you throw it in your robot cargo, you right-click activate, and your robot will then have the colored panels turn into the color of the paint.
All right. Nice.
So robot paints, NPC bosses, loot splitting from NPC bosses, respawn that isn't regular but has random noise added to it, new outpost stability mechanics, things like sap relics and sap guardians. So NPCs you can shoot that affect the stability of the outpost, and relics you could find that affect the stability of the outpost. Relics themselves, basically open world visual artifacts that you can roam around, and if you find it, it pops a can, and that's like fun. And a whole bunch of other stuff. Oh, and all the balance stuff that we did. I think a lot of vets remember fondly or not so fondly the quote ALF balance, which was kind of like the kind of major last balance change that happened on official that a number of people didn't like, and a bunch of people on the team spent a lot of time reversing that early on. And as we bring new things into the game, we're pretty adamant about making sure things are balanced and things don't go totally haywire on that end of things.
What exactly happened with this ALF balance? What entailed?
They basically, it's kind of like they shifted most of the power away from the robot bonuses to kind of base stats, or they just kind of reduced the overall scope of what the bonuses were, pushing. So what that does is, if once you get into kind of nuances of how things are balanced in Perpetuum and how modules stack or don't stack, what happens is if the bonus on a robot is smaller than a stack of tunings to increase the performance of a particular module, what ends up happening is the bot that excels at the use of a particular module is the one with the most slots, not the one with the biggest bonus. So at one point, I think it was neutralization was like 7% per level on the Ictus. They moved that down to 5 or 3%, I forget what it was. But the Ictus, doesn't have that many slots on it naturally. And they didn't change that when this happened, apparently. And this was before my time. I was just looking at the dev blog to kind of understand what they did. But what happened is that since the bonuses were pulled so low, what ended up being the meta was what was called Seth Mark II Online. People would roll Seth Mark IIs purely because they had the most number of head slots and leg slots, allowing them to stack tuners and to become more powerful in any role they chose. So they were a better neuting platform. They were a better magnetics weapon platform. Note that the Numicol Mesmer should be better. They were a better machine gun platform. They were a better, obviously, they're the laser platform. Like, they became so globally useful and optimal in so many roles that there was almost no reason to spec into another faction. And it's a weird side effect of just like, oh, let's have the bonuses be less extreme.
That sounds like it sucks. I like my NyQuil stuff. It puts my enemies to sleep permanently.
You said NyQuil, I was like, what do you... Oh, right. It took me a second.
Yeah, can I get the NyQuil paint skin for my corporation, please?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I think there's like a dark blue that might do you.
Excellent. Although I'll probably go with the dark red because, Mechanicus.
Yes. So balance, features, I don't know, like open source. I don't know.
I actually just had an idea in regards to like the Syndicate Skins one, and it also revolves the corporations. But you could probably the idea I had is you could have a corporation, like a corporation set skin, that you'd have to like research and unlock, and like all the members can buy it of that syndicate and have it equipped, and only they can use it.
Yeah, that it would be really nice if we could have customized textures like that.
Not yet, though.
Yeah, it kind of comes back to like what we talked about with the how the texture is built into the model, which is built into this crazy file that we need a tool to kind of really unpack properly and repack.
That really does sound annoying.
So at the moment, all we can do is change basically the hue value of an entity, which will change if the texture has this layer on it, the diffuse pattern that's on the texture. So we can't like overlay an arbitrary like image as a texture.
I don't mean something like that. I mean like you can set like a custom hue for like your
Oh yeah.
like something like that. Very preliminary at this point. Like moving on, if you get the ability to like say add 2 or 3 colors to a skin, or hell even add like logos or whatnot. If you get the ability to that would certainly be something cool to have for the corporations. But like right now, like say like you wanted something specific to like your corporation's things.
Oh.
But like you want it to be like specific to only your members, but you want it to be like say cheaper than what the Syndicate's charging for, because the Syndicate's charging $5 million for Dark Red. This is an outrage. I want. I'm
Yeah, it was
boycotting the
intended as a
sync.
Nick. Yeah, it was intended as a Nick sync. I didn't think it would be something new players would start equipping right away. But on the corp color, because you can customize your corp color, I think we might have a way to grab that data and generate basically a custom paint with that hue built into it.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be a really cool function for the corporations.
I will look into that. That is an interesting perk and a way to customize, because that was the problem before. Like, we can't add just like a random color picker, right?
Yeah.
Corp has a color picker for the corp color. So yeah, we could probably basically abuse that system as a way to generate custom colors as a perk of being a part of a corp.
I've broken the system. I've figured it out. I've
You've done
cracked
it,
the
Admiral.
code.
My God.
The Enigmata has been broken. Now we will know all of the Perpetuum devs' plans. By that I mean Avatar. You're just handing me your plans right now. My internet seems to be being a bitch earlier than usual. That sounds like what happened in my stream a couple months ago. I wasn't streaming Perpetuum at this time, but there was a time where my modem was going on the fritz, and in the middle of a stream of Noida, it like was disconnecting and reconnecting me like every minute. It was not pleasant.
Ouch.
Yeah. People, make sure to replace your routers every 5 years, because this one hadn't been replaced in 22. Actually, longer than 22 years.
22 years.
Yep. It's been the modem used here for a long time. We actually, I'm not sure if you got into the first part of that question, by the way, about how you feel your team is done managing OPP.
Oh shit.
We got very into the second part of that question.
Yeah, sorry. I think we
alright.
both equally get sidetracked on shiny objects.
Yes.
Yeah, in terms of managing OPP, this is a hard-hitting question, man. Because like, it's also what people subscribe or ascribe to my responsibilities. I feel like a lot of things could have been done better. I think things like setting expectations and trying to create a better pipeline and understanding for volunteers. Like, we get a lot of people who volunteer, and like they have certain expectations that like they'll just kind of like, hey, I want this or I want that, and like there's like a whole team of people that have thought a very long time about certain subjects or whatever, and they'll get like it's very hard for people to separate their ego from their ideas. And when people's ideas don't work for various reasons, or they're trying to negotiate or figure out like what works, if people can't engage in that kind of discussion, it tends to be, if the person can't handle that kind of discussion, it tends to be very impacting the morale of the team. So I wish like up front we were better at creating a better onboarding process for game designers onto the team, so that way it was more clear up front like what the expectations were, so that way when they are on the team and they received resistance for an idea or proposal that they had, that they kind of knew like that's baked into the whole way of working. Right? Like, you can't simultaneously like buff your favorite bot and like have another person balance another thing. Like, you guys have to work together on what those things are and how they interact in the game as a whole, and you have to think about it at a system scale and not as a self-motivated player, which is also something I think is an easy trap for people to fall into, especially if they approach joining the team first as a Perpetuum player and not a person trying to make Open Perpetuum better.
Yeah, I can say from experience. I used to run a TRPG, And I used to admin a whole bunch of them, and a lot of the people on there, we would be constantly butting heads on like what should be balanced, what should be added, what should be removed, things like that nature. I specifically remember having a problem with one guy because there was a certain piece of equipment that characters could equip, which basically was an opening attack. It couldn't miss. It did a lot of damage. Well, it didn't do a lot of damage, but it could do enough damage that it could, severely cripple an enemy force. And my whole justification for it was, it's an opening strike. We have one just like it right after. The only difference is that, this can be equipped by different classes of players, whereas this one is specific to one class, and we just kept butting heads about it constantly, and we got pretty angry at each other. So knowing from experience that sort of thing can be very difficult, especially when working in a team. That's absolutely something that's an important thing to look into.
Yeah, and establishing that culture is important, and maintaining it is also very important. And as people that cycle in and off of the team and with the game, it also makes it very challenging because, basically the culture of the team is, maintained by the consistency of the people that participate on it. So, for one of the things that was also very challenging was dealing with asynchronous development, because we're all volunteer and we're spread across the globe, basically. Creating systems that allowed people kind of across all of those schedules and time scales to participate and get their word in, as well as understand the kind of thread of what's going on, was very important, because a lot of times people would come on board and we'd basically rehash a lot of issues. They'd be like, hey, what about this? And we're like, we already talked about that 6 times. And they're like, oh, like, what'd you decide? And we're like, we basically said no. And they're like, why? And like, oh, well, we're not sure, but we felt pretty strongly about it at the time. I guess we could talk about it again. Here's time number 7. So being better about documenting things that were less technical, things like, why did we make certain decisions, and why we've put certain things to rest, because rehashing things and designing in circles is a huge time sink.
In a cruel sense of irony, the COVID outbreak has kind of helped with that, because a lot of technologies revolving around, remote work have improved drastically. I do say conflict and such tends to accelerate development, and that's exactly what happened. So I don't know if specifically for you it's helped very much, but I feel like with stuff like Zoom, especially Google Drive, things like that, it might have helped. It would help with connecting all the developers together and helping to synchronize everything. I feel like it might have. I can't speak for you. I feel like it might have. That's what I'm speculating.
Yeah. So actually, one of the things that I think we lucked out on in terms of timing, I think the Perpetuum community, if we had this sooner, I think it would have been like gangbusters in terms of the longevity and the number of people that stayed in or didn't leave the Perpetuum community is Discord. The fact that there's a persistent text chat and voice channels for free, and it's like, multiple platforms, cross-platform, mobile, whatever, is such an important thread, because when you jump in the game, for example, if someone's not online and you don't see them online, you don't see their messages in chat, right? Unless they send you a mail.
Yeah.
Discord has this amazing, they just keep everything there for you. So you log in, you can catch up on whatever you missed. And that as the game community became thinner and thinner, that became a more and more important feature to have to keep the players involved and communicating. So actually our team, I think also, we basically, our entire operation operates out of the Discord. With the exception of GitHub for our code and Google Drive for documents, like signed documents and spreadsheets. Discord has been the place where we collaborate over text and voice. And it's, if not for Discord, we probably would have found other things, but I think it would have been harder to keep in contact with the community, communicate with them, announce events, coordinate with people, attract more people to the game, as well as just perform regular asynchronous team functions, either with voice or text.
Yeah, I can say from experience, this probably wouldn't have gone as well if it used a Facebook page and TeamSpeak.
Yes.
Oh lord, and I used to use TeamSpeak. I used to prefer TeamSpeak. Jeez.
Yeah, it was the go-to for Perpetuum PvP corporations. You had to have TeamSpeak.
Yeah, it was back in for CS:GO for an old gaming clan I used to be a part of. That was the go-to for that. I don't remember exactly why we switched over to Discord. I just remember there was a whole mess in the transition, and it kind of killed off the clan.
Yeah, adopting new tech is there's always some resistance. I've been pleasantly surprised with how Discord has grown, how featureful it is, and how stable it is, and the fact that it's still free, and the communities have that popped up around it, right? It's like I'm in an MMORPG Discord. I met one of the guys that joined our team there. It's totally cool. You've got your Discord for your stream. That's a great way to keep in contact with people and coordinate and, even host an interview, right? That's awesome.
Like we're doing that here. And even for, connecting streamers, it's incredibly useful as well. I'm in probably at least closing a dozen different channels of people I met doing live streams. Like I mentioned Jack Churchill VR, I think, earlier. He's the gentleman who actually convinced me to get back into streaming, because for the longest time I didn't make any YouTube videos, I didn't stream, I just sat on my ass and played video games. But, due to him, I used to join his streams, and then eventually, after joining his streams a whole bunch of times, I decided, you know what, you're having a lot of, success here, and this seems like it's a lot better of a thing, and I want to do it, so I'm going to get back into doing it, and I upgraded all my stuff. I got Streamlabs. Well, I actually used to use XSplit, but I switched to Streamlabs shortly after, because, again, due to Jack Churchill, he convinced me. And through him, I also met a lot of other streamers as well. People who are common on this channel, they know of Alchem Games. I tend to rate him, despite the fact that I've barely interacted with him, and I have no clue how I got on his server. I'm just there.
That's what you got to do. You got to make connections, and people grow their communities like that.
Yeah.
Twitch streaming in general is just kind of it's I don't know how people do. I don't know how you grow your channel. I don't know all these things. It seems
very carefully.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to find your niche, but it's being able to create a community for yourself and manage it. Discord is a really great tool for that. So from a development standpoint and the Perpetuum community standpoint, it's been a huge lifeline for us.
Yeah, I would have to agree. All right.
Hashtag ad for Discord.
Yes. Discord, give me free nitro. Free nitro for Perpetuum and for me. Give it. Hashtag not sponsored. Hashtag please sponsor. On that note, guess what? We have finished all the questions. They're all done.
Awesome. We did it. Yes! Dude, awesome.
All right. Did that actually come through my headset mic?
Yeah, I could hear it a little bit, and yeah, I recognized it immediately.
That's the one problem with this headset when I wear this helmet. And Skull, we have a Poggers emote on this channel. Use it. You subscribed for it. All right. So, again, thank you for the interview, man. It's really interesting talking to you and Inda, and hopefully at some point the rest of your team, talking about the whole thing. And the whole development process, all the history around Perpetuum, your plans, etc., etc. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to, editing it. What I'm looking less forward to is trying to subtitle it all. I don't know if you've watched any of Soviet Womble's videos on YouTube, but, man has the patience of a saint, let me tell you. But, I thank you for giving me this opportunity. Both thank you to you and to Inda. And hopefully to the rest of your team if they're up for it.
Yeah, man, we'll be in contact on a number of things, it sounds like. So look forward to your streams. And yeah, just keep posting OP Media when you got streams coming up, or if there's any sort of events coming up.
Oh, yeah,
let us know.
I definitely will.
Excellent, man. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
You're quite welcome. I don't know if you wanted to join us, but I was planning on playing like an extra hour or two here with Skull. If you wanted to join us, you're very much welcome. But if you got things to do, I completely understand.
Yeah, I might be working on some code in the meantime, but I'll pop in channel with you guys.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Lurk a little bit, and if you guys got some questions, I might be able to answer in the meantime.
All right. I will say before we get into that stuff, we're going to take a short ad break.
Nice.
This interview went on for almost 3.5 hours. Holy shit.
I hope that's enough content for you.
Oh my god, that is absolutely enough content. Thank you. Admiral needs that money. Yeah. I mean, I do need money. Money is a very good incentive. I'm just being honest with my my audience here, man. All right, we'll be right back after these short messages. We'll be right back after these messages.
Nailed it.
Yes. Thank you so much for watching the second interview. I had a lot of fun interviewing Null and learning a lot more about Perpetuum and the Open Perpetuum Project's history and development. I hope to be able to speak to the rest of the team members at some point in the future. But in the meantime, if you'd like to support the people at Open Perpetuum Project, you can go to their Patreon in the links in the description. Every penny helps them, of course. And if you're interested in Perpetuum itself, there's going to be a link to the Steam store page in the description as well. Thank you all for watching. I'm Admiral Y11, signing off. Alright, y'all know the drill at this point. Like, comment, share, hit the bell button, and subscribe. YouTube likes it, so do I. Thanks for watching.